Okay, welcome everyone. It's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The Tantramar regular council meeting of Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. I'd like to acknowledge we are located within the territory of Mi'kma'ki, the unceded ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Just before we get into the approval of the agenda, I was hoping that we could add something to the agenda. The rules on this, of course, are that it has to be unanimous consent. We have had a code of conduct violation filed by a resident against Deputy Mayor Wiggins Caldwell that we were hoping to take care of this evening. So add it to the agenda, Ms. Goodwin, at the end of reports from administration, so it would be 5.5, is that correct? So I was seeking to add that to the agenda as item 5.5 under reports from administration. So without knowing, I guess, the details of what that code of conduct violation is, we do have printed copies. We'll pass out with council if council so chooses to add that to the agenda. So do I need to make a motion to add that to the agenda or? No, it'd be a motion as amended. Oh, right. Okay, so I'm seeking to add that to the agenda. So it would be making a motion to approve the agenda as amended rather than the motion that you see in front of you, if somebody would be willing to make that motion. Councillor Hicks.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add a code of conduct violation complaint.
So it would be I move that council approve the agenda as amended.
Okay.
Approve the agenda of the regular council meeting as amended.
Okay. So
Okay.
I move that council approve the agenda of the regular council meeting of April 14th as amended.
I move that council approve the agenda of the regular council meeting of April 14th as agended,
Yeah,
as amended.
Okay. So moved by Councillor Hicks, seconded by Councillor Gauguin. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so we'll add that to 5.5. All right, thank you for that. Moving on to 1.2, conflict of interest declaration. Any conflict of interest from council or staff for the items that appear in the agenda this evening? Seeing none, okay. Moving on to 2, public and administrative presentations. 2.1, economics on the proposed Riggs gas plant. Mr. McCaskill. And again, these are 5-minute presentations. We do have a couple of 2-minute presentations. I'll announce those when they come up. I apologize, Mr. McCaskill, it will be timed, but there'll be an opportunity for council to ask questions after your presentation. Oh, hold on 1 second. We just had to make sure that the mic will work. Okay.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, and guests. Many of you are familiar to me, but for those who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, I am Gregor McCaskill, 16-year resident here in Tantramar. Just to give you a sense, I'm quite involved in the community, have been past president of the Sackville Youth Soccer Association for about a decade, am on your Sport Wall of Fame committee here with council, and also the Mayor's Roundtable on Climate Change. I'm involved with the EOS Eco Energy organization here, and I'm a parent, and last but not least, I have a full-time job as an economist. And that's part of what brings me here, given the subject. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Protect the Chignecto Isthmus Coalition, or PCIC, since my economic concerns around the gas plant led to a presentation in town, and I connected with Lisa Griffin, who's coordinating PCIC, and it was at the time that they were about to launch into the full hearing process before the New Brunswick Energy and Utilities Board. And I, thought that, I could lend some support. Now that hearing allows, public organizations to be interveners and present arguments before the board. Our team was led by Chris Rouse, a gentleman from St. John who's an electric engineer and knows New Brunswick Power inside out, I can say. But I could provide support in a number of ways and add sort of some economic expertise to our arguments. With just 5 minutes, I want to touch on a couple of highlights from that hearing and talk about what is about to happen next. Now, you can imagine as PCIC, we have lots of local concerns about the gas plant, but frankly, the board is not really interested in that. They have a very strict set of criteria that they evaluate New Brunswick Power's application for this gas plant. And so, you know, although we want to make arguments about, you know, our local concerns, we were really arguing on behalf of all of New Brunswick and all New Brunswickers and all ratepayers. So a number of the things like you have expressed, I know council members have expressed concerns, and you've heard concerns expressed by the community in presentations here before council and in the community. Things like land, air, and water pollution issues, noise, traffic, wildlife impacts. Those things really are outside of the scope for the Energy Utility Board. So we didn't argue that the gas plant doesn't make sense for Tantramar. We argued that it doesn't make sense anywhere in New Brunswick. We were arguing that, you know, even based on New Brunswick Power's evidence that was submitted in the hearing, that this is going to raise rates for all New Brunswickers who are paying for electricity on top of the rate increases that they're already asking for. That this is going to further deteriorate New Brunswick Power's financial situation, which is already in very poor shape. That this is a fiscal concern for the province. They are the shareholder of our public utility, and just this week, their credit rating was downgraded, you know, so they don't need yet another financial liability on their hands. It's important for the board to know that New Brunswick Power is always pursuing least cost options. That's to protect us as ratepayers, the province as a shareholder, and New Brunswick Power's financial sort of stance. And even in their own evidence in the hearing, they showed that they discarded a lower cost option, which would have been to own and operate the utility. Instead, they're going to pay an extra $300 million to the U.S. firm ProEnergy to kind of take care of everything. That alone is not the way, you know, New Brunswick Power needs to be moving, given their situation. But what we were even pressing them more on is that they didn't look at any alternatives. They were squarely focused on the gas plant and really nothing else. Even though, and you may have heard a little bit about batteries, renewables, demand-side management, and demand response programs. I won't go into detail, but all of those things are lower-cost solutions that are made in Canada solutions. They would create more jobs, more income, more local opportunities for businesses to support New Brunswick Power. And we just wanted to make the point that, you know, they really ought to be looking at all of that. I didn't get to say what's coming next.
Thank you very much. A council member could ask that question of you, what's coming next? Sure. I do want to say, there's some feedback on the mics. I do want to say that I was at the community hall event at the United Church when you delivered some of the economic background on the gas plant. And I'm curious if, and if it's not appropriate for me to ask, then please tell me, but you had a slide deck for that presentation.
Right.
Would that be something that you'd be willing to share with with council members? There was a lot of material in there that I think was really important for people to know.
Yes.
And I guess furthermore, would you be all right if we, if you share it with council, that we could put that on our website as well?
Certainly.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Questions or comments from council? Councillor Tower?
Okay, first question is, what's coming next?
I knew I could cue that up. So we're expecting a decision from the board any day now. They said they would deliver that as quickly as they could. And of course, it could be a yes or a no, but I want you to be paying attention to both. In the event that it's a no to the gas plant, that's certainly welcome, and that will be helpful. But there is some conversation around New Brunswick Power in the past having asked the province to override a board decision. They did that with Point Lepreau projects, and that's been, floating around this project as well. So, just because we get a no, we're not really going to take our foot off the gas, so to speak. We would turn our attention to the province and be making sure there's sort of maximum attention, keeping in mind really the board, even if the board said yes, so that's the other possibility, keep in mind this narrow set of criteria that the board has. It doesn't speak to all of the issues that we have, all of the environmental issues, and my favorite topic, economics, like what does this mean for the province of New Brunswick in terms of jobs? It's a terrible sort of story for New Brunswick, given that all of the $3.5 billion over the next 25 years will flow south of the border to the US, and there's very little opportunity left here in New Brunswick. So all of those things need to be really clear front and center for the province, just in case they decide to do, something on their own.
Do you have a follow-up, Councillor Tower?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I have to say first that I watched her presentation to the board, and boy, there was so much coming out there that I would have loved to have a copy so I could have sat back and watched and read it myself. And I even thought, well, maybe it's something that we could give to the Premier when she comes down, but we haven't heard from her yet, so she might be waiting until after the municipal election so she has a friendlier council to talk to. But was there anything else you wanted to add that you were being pushed on you couldn't bring up?
No, I think that covers it, and I certainly welcome any follow-up from anyone, if you're looking for information or any insight from the proceeding, especially as the decision comes out. I'm certainly here to help in any way.
I'll follow up on what Councillor Tower was saying. I have to try to ask this in a question, but so I guess it's important to note we have been attempting to get the Premier to have a meeting, which was included in that motion that Councillor Tower had brought forward and Council passed. That hasn't happened, and maybe she is waiting until a new council, a friendlier council. But that doesn't matter because that motion is on the books. The motion to oppose the Riggs project and to meet with the Premier is on the books. So whether we have a new council that comes in or not, that motion stands. So just, publicly, we should say that. So that motion stands, which means that the new council will continue that work. And I did have a question about if the answer is no from the board. The province has the opportunity potentially to reverse that if NB Power asks. So I guess the question I have is the PCIC and anyone affiliated would advocate to the provincial government relatively early that would not be a possibility. Is that something that you would see happening?
Well, yeah, we would be very vocal about the province, stepping over the board's decision. If the board were to say no, that should be given a tremendous amount of weight. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's an incredible amount of evidence and documentation and, process that just all went through. And if the board were to, come through with a no, to me, it would be, hard to imagine the province overturning that. So
right.
We'd be very vocal.
Okay, perfect. Councillor Finney.
Gregor, can you tell me, I think in the last couple of years they've said that the rates have gone up around 20%, and they're looking for another 4.75.
That's right.
They got that, did they? Today, so
Yes.
that's okay, that's 25%. How much more is going to go up if this goes through?
Yeah, so in the hearing, they talked about it going up another 5% about just for this one gas plant. So you're stuck with paying another 5% for the next 25 years, over the life of that agreement for the gas plant. That's what adds up to the $3.5 billion. And in the slide deck that I will share afterwards, I break that down in terms of a cost per household, like per residential household, so you can feel what it's like for, homeowners and people who are frankly struggling, with affordability challenges today.
Councillor Gauguin.
Thank you, Mayor Black. Thank you for the presentation. It's a lot of good information. I'm just curious, I know the recommendations from I think it was the white paper maybe, or something like that about NB Power, was recommending towards a nuclear plant instead, instead of adding this project, so they were recommending a nuclear plant. Is there one that would be better than the other in standpoint of economics, or I know like when they're both kind of polluters, but in a way
So
different?
nuclear has its own concerns, and that I think what's being considered, if anything, is like a small modular nuclear solution as opposed to a large plant. I think they'll continue to refurbish LaPro at high cost. What we keep saying is that renewable energy is the cheapest. Wind and solar is incredibly cheap and dropping all the time, and battery costs that can go together with those renewables, they're dropping in costs every year. So, as the least cost, non-polluting source that generates local jobs, that is, like, to me, the clearest answer. And, look no further than, Irving wanting to build its own wind field because they don't like the high rates that they're paying to New Brunswick Power. They've crunched the numbers and they know that that's the way to go. Why can't the rest of the province do the same? And frankly, if they don't, we stand to lose more large industrial customers like Irving's. Maybe it's McCain's next. Maybe it's another, food processing or, sawmill in the province. And that's going to hurt all the remaining ratepayers that have to, foot the bill for New Brunswick Power.
Yep, go ahead, Councillor Gauguin.
So I have solar on my house, and there was an incentive for me to put it on, but there's not an incentive to go over, because at the end of March, you get reset, unlike Nova Scotia where they cut you a check. I've been advocating NB Power for this for a few years now, and the answer that they keep coming back with is, well, we have to supply you power during the off hours, so we're not going to pay you more. But yet in Ontario and Nova Scotia, they do that. So would that be a path that we could advocate towards? Because obviously we've got plenty of sun, and even if there's no sun, you're still generating. So
For sure. One of the things to keep in mind is the gas plant is really addressing an issue that has to do with peak loads, and especially winter peak loads. So yes, everyone who had solar panels to their roof is going to, help reduce overall load. But it's more a matter of can we shift our energy usage to off-peak hours and that sort of thing. I agree. The way the arrangement is set up with New Brunswick Power doesn't really fully encourage people to get solar. So it'd be nice to see what they have in Nova Scotia and other provinces.
Councillor Tower?
Thank you. It's interesting with that statement. About 10 or 12 years ago, when Energy Efficiency New Brunswick was still around, and they were given all these programs available, and at an NB Power presentation, I questioned the idea of, why don't you really enhance it and allow people to sell to you at a fair price and not have to pay for it when they, getting back their power. And at that time, they said that, well, that's not our mandate. Our mandate is to get the power. And we don't want too much green energy. It's too soon to. And so just last year, I spoke to, talked to a gentleman at an NB Power presentation. And I had questioned then, if it took you 2 years to get to this point where you're starting your process of getting everything in place, why did you ignore the 2 green projects you had on your table? And he says, because we're not looking at that. Not yet, it's not worth it. So it's like, how do you battle that kind of mentality?
You've touched on 2 things that I
Good.
think are really valuable. First is demand side management, and then second is how do you get them focused on the right thing? Let me start with the second, and I'll come back to just demand side management. So that's the same kind of thing we heard in the hearing. They said, we're doing all of these things all at once. Yet really, when it comes right down to it, you know, they're most focused on the gas plant. And I think they're not giving the same attention to, you know, energy efficiency programs or renewables. You know, those are things, you know, that they could be moving ahead sooner. So, you know, we just think they ought to be sticking to some of the plans that they already have in place, which they don't seem to be following. You know, kind of keep them focused even on what they already have on paper. Demand side management is a really interesting one. And there's another kind of version of that, which is demand response. So as I mentioned earlier, like this is a bit about reducing peaks. And one of the things they could do is a simple app that people could put on their phone. And if they were about to go into a cold weather event where they could see that they're getting close to their maximum, they could send out a message to New Brunswickers and say, if you're willing, completely voluntary basis, to just turn off a few things in your house, or, you know, do your laundry later this evening, or, you know, turn off some lights or whatever, you know, that people would probably be happy to do that if they knew that it would avoid them from paying, you know, it would avoid paying $3.5 billion for a new gas plant. And guess what? Like, they did that in Alberta, and the demand, or the response to that, was huge. People were completely willing. So there are some almost free solutions. Like, that would be so easy to implement, and they're not doing it. So back to demand response, and we, you know, it used to be a separate entity, and now it's folded into New Brunswick Power. I think if it was separate and there was no sort of conflict of interest, we'd be moving faster ahead on some of those solutions.
You did mention small modular reactor, so I just had to comment quickly on that. I had a conversation when I was president of UMNB with Premier Higgs at the time about small modular reactors, and he called those renewable energy sources, which I thought was pretty hilarious. Anyway, I wanted to give a little bit of a laugh at that. Anyway, and NB Power, of course, is well in support of small modular reactors. It is a project that New Brunswick companies are pioneering, they said at the time, with the hopes of selling them worldwide. So, you know, not just here in New Brunswick as a quick fix to energy solutions, but to sell the small modular reactors around the world and make up some revenue that they are sorely missing. Anyway, that was then. Things have changed a little bit, but the conversation around small modular reactors has quieted down a little bit, but it's certainly still there.
Off in the distance,
Right.
So I think they recognize it's still early days for that.
Yeah. Councillor Finney, sorry.
McGregor, I've heard that I think they've been talking about this since 2023. Do you have any knowledge of the fact that it's even been back further than that? Like, I don't believe it was just 2023. I think they've been talking about this megawatt project, I call it that, for at least maybe 5 years. Just wondering if you have any information that that may be true.
That the idea of the gas plant
Yeah.
came before that. I think in evidence before the board, they did table what was the first correspondence. It doesn't mean that the concept of a gas plant, I mean, they've been around for decades. So the idea of, someday having a gas plant, I'm sure that's been discussed over the years, but I think this kind of formally started, if it wasn't 2023, it was, around about that time.
Okay. Thank you again for your presentation. Most appreciated. And and if you could send that slide deck, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, so moving on to 2.2, we have two 2-minute presentations to council. The first one on my list is Meredith Fisher.
I think it's me.
Oh, Penny Mott, is that Penny? Yes, okay.
Here I am again.
And again, you'll have 2 minutes, we'll time it, but there'll be time
Okay.
for questions afterwards, so.
I'm used to it. My name is Penny Mott. I'm speaking on behalf of Seniors for Climate Tantramar. Today, we are living in a world where a lack of understanding of consequences is costing humanity. Oops, they didn't think about the Strait of Hormuz when they bombed Iran. Well, we're in a similar situation here in Tantramar with New Brunswick Power's proposal of a gas plant. Oops, they didn't realize the requirement for prior consultation. Oops, there is a decline in New Brunswick's population, and so this dire immediate demand for electricity is no longer the case. Oops, this plant would cost $3.5 billion over 25 years to be paid by ratepayers. They did not have the most current data about the flexibility and lower costs, as Gregor just explained, of renewables with grid battery storage when they signed this contract. This was revealed in the EUB hearing. Whoops, they did not consider the costs of the harmful pollution this plant would produce, and they didn't factor in Canada's constraints for greenhouse gas emissions, net zero by 2035, and for New Brunswick, 46% by 2030. Oops, they didn't realize it could be problematic to rely on an American company to build a plant to burn fracked gas. And finally, they didn't factor in the ecological destruction of the UNESCO-designated isthmus. On December the 9th, this council passed a motion, 5-2, stating opposition to the plant. To date, there's been no public letter acknowledging this opposition, no municipal government leadership. Knowing now the inevitable consequences of this proposal, there's still time to act. Was that my time?
It was.
Okay. I don't think I need to answer any questions. I'm asking that this council publicly state their position.
Well, the passing of the motion to be opposed to the gas plant is an admission of council that we are opposed to the gas plant. So now, whether you said it passed 5-2, I wasn't at that meeting.
That's right.
It passed 5-2, so the people who voted against it, council as a whole passes motion. So whether you vote against it or not is irrelevant. Council as a whole opposes the gas plant, as per the words in that motion. So at a public meeting, we have publicly stated, by passing that motion, that council is opposed to the gas plant.
I've recently read your letters to the Premier about issues in Tantramar, the toll and the veterinary services. I've yet to read a letter publicly in stating the position of the council. So that's what I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the public know about this opposition.
So on December 17th, 2025, we sent a follow-up letter to Premier Holt as a follow-up on council's position regarding the proposed gas plant. Is that on our website? I'm not sure. It was also sent to, that's okay. It was sent to others as well, Dominic LeBlanc, as well as other ministers within the government. But we can share that, that's fine. Sorry, questions? Councillor Tower, I apologize.
No, that's okay, no problem.
I really would prefer not to entertain questions tonight.
Well, that's fine. I'll just add a comment then. They also failed to recognize the kind of resistance they were gonna get, not only from this area, but from far stretches of this country, so, and other countries. So you could add that to that same, they failed to recognize, so. You're right on every step of the way, and they haven't proved to me they've been right on anything, so, besides the lying, so. Thank you.
Okay, next up, 2-minute presentation from James McDonald.
I'll try to be fast, I'm sorry. So, good evening, Your Worship, Council, and staff. My name is James McDonald. I'm a resident of Tantramar. I'm here because of the proposed amendment to the Fire Prevention Bylaw 2026-21 have been presented to the public as housekeeping. But when you change the rules to over half the landmass of this municipality, affecting hundreds of properties, that isn't housekeeping, it's a total renovation. Labeling it as a minor maintenance dismisses the impact on residents in every ward who are potentially facing new costly restrictions. I am thankful that the bylaw was amended regarding outdoor fires to remove some of those initial barriers. However, I must say, the insinuation at the February 10th meeting that the concerns of the camp owners doesn't matter in the review of this bylaw is entirely inappropriate. Every property owner in Tantramar, whether they are year-round or seasonal, is a taxpayer. They deserve a seat at the table, not to be dismissed because you feel they are the cause of the problem. The camp owners in Nova Scotia broke the law that already existed. Their actions should have no relevance to deciding the outcome of this bylaw for our law-abiding citizens. It is vital that we get this bylaw and all others right while they are on the table. Once a bylaw like this is approved, it becomes much harder to walk it back or fix the flaws. We have one chance to ensure this is fair, and passing a flawed policy with the hope of fixing it later is not responsible governance. The focus on outdoor furnaces within the fire prevention bylaw is a solution in search of a problem. These units have been heating homes safely across our rural areas for decades. My understanding is that there have been no fire calls in our area related to outdoor furnaces beyond simple smoke complaints. I'm asking the fire chiefs tonight, can this be confirmed or can it be debunked with specific local data? Finally, the September 30th deadline is an ultimatum, not a grace period. It is mid-April. We need to be honest about what we are asking residents to do. If required, replacing an outdoor furnace or retrofitting a new heat source can cost tens of thousands of dollars. To expect families to find technicians, navigate inspections, and absorb a 5-figure expense in just 5 months is disconnected from economic reality. In a time of record inflation, we should be protecting the heat security of our residents. I urge council to respect the long-standing practice of all our wards and grandfather these units for their natural mechanical life. Let's not create new burdens for people just trying to heat their homes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, well-timed. Questions or comments from council? Councillor Tower.
The first one is, did you fail to see something you wanted to say or point out any particular other ones?
Nope, I almost faded, but I got it all.
Very good. So you're saying that we shouldn't rush to go after the outdoor furnace people because they've been there for all the years without issues, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I don't think we should go after them at all. Now, new installations or if existing ones have to be upgraded or changed, by all means, they should pass standards. But existing ones, unless there's some evidence that they are a major cause or burden on our fire service, then I think they should be left be.
Okay, so that'll be coming up tonight for sure. And the other one, you're worried about the fires that people have camps run?
Well, I made that statement because at the February meeting, when this all got originally presented, there was a comment in regards to being okay with this passing as it was then, because it was camp owners that caused the wildfires in Nova Scotia. But that's not really a fair statement, because they were under a fire ban and they still broke the law. So we could put whatever laws we want now, but if they're gonna break the law, they're gonna break the law.
Councillor Tower, follow?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so, and I'm understanding what you're saying. Those who did cause the fires were not supposed to be doing what they're doing.
Correct.
So now are you saying we shouldn't have a law to prevent fires during certain times because they're gonna break it anyway?
No, I was thanking council or staff for amending the bylaw, because originally when it was presented, there was gonna be no outdoor fires at all without a permit,
Yeah.
which to me is a burden on staff in and of itself to apply for all these permits, to burn a simple pile of brush or something like that. But prior to that change, there was a comment made stating that gave the impression that it didn't matter what camps or camp owners' opinions were, because they were the cause of the wildfires in Nova Scotia, which is an unfair statement. So I just wanted to bring that to light.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that. I want clarity. Thank you.
Councillor Finney?
I agree with you. As a matter of fact, I don't think it needs to be changed at all. And so, and the reason I say that is I've talked to a lot of firefighters that have been around for a long time. And since we haven't had a problem, let's not create a problem. So I want to thank you for that.
And just one last time, just to clarify, Mr. McDonald, what you're proposing is that the existing outdoor furnaces be grandfathered in. This was a suggestion that you made?
Correct,
That
yeah.
they get grandfathered in. Any new construction for an outdoor furnace or something that may need to be upgraded, there could be something written in the bylaw that would look at that. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah, that's what I mean, like, that they get grandfathered for their mechanical life. Once they're done, if that owner needs to replace it, then by all means.
Right.
But when it's replaced, it's gonna be, or it should be installed by a certified installer.
Right.
So.
Okay, perfect. Any questions, comments? No? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so the next two, 2.3 and 2.4 are presentations which fall outside of our procedure and organization of council bylaw in that they are direct connections to the municipality. So our recreation master plan from RC Strategies, and the update on the library and the M&M Center projects from Mount Allison University. So within the provisions of our bylaw, there is no time limit. I believe that there has been a suggestion for these next two presentations to be around 10 minutes, but then there would be, of course, questions and comments from council as well. So 2.3 is an update on the library, M&M Center projects, Mount Allison University. President Sutherland and VP Robert Inglis are here as well. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor and councillors, residents. It's a pleasure to be here. Good evening, bonsoir, gwe. I believe I've got a presentation as well. There it is. Look at that. Perfect. On time and everything. I will do my level best to be less than 10 minutes, Your Worship. So you can go to the next slide. The purpose for the presentation is to provide council update on the major infrastructure projects at Mount Allison, particularly the McCain-McLean Center, that's the sports complex, as well as the RP Bell Library. SIL stands for Center for Innovation and Learning, which is a major renovation project that's just starting. So you can go on to the next slide. Core to both of these projects, and indeed all of our infrastructure renewal work, are these four key values or priorities: sustainability, indigeneity, accessibility, and integrated design for our students, faculty, staff, and indeed the community of Sackville and Tantramar. You can go on to the next slide. What, in the broadest of terms, do these projects mean for Sackville and for Tantramar? And I would say, particularly regarding the sports center, the wider region of southeast New Brunswick, they're designed to help strengthen our, as in the university's, role as a community partner and an anchor for this town, for this region, and indeed for the province. There are some very specific elements to these new projects, or the renovation in the case of the library, that are enhancing public access and community activity. activities. So for example, the library will have a new entrance on what we perhaps all think of as the back of the library, York Street entrance, which is designated primarily as a community entrance. It will be more accessible, easier to use, and provide more space for community to engage in the library. And then particularly regarding the sports complex, the M&M Centre, for improvements for local health and wellness, community events, programs, and a variety of partnerships that I'm sure that we'll all be able to develop and dream up together. The next slide details some of the specifics to the McCain-McLean Centre. So this is, you're seeing it go up on Lansdowne at the bottom of Alumni Field, a large flexible indoor space, about 26,000 square feet, high-performance multi-use sport flooring, and you'll see some images in a minute that will show you what that all it looks like. An indoor walking track, particularly thinking of residents with mobility issues, not just at the university, but in the community, to be able to use it in January, February, March, when it's less easy to walk outside. And the project is very much designed for community sports and recreation, intramurals, varsity team training, and to be inclusive and accessible for as many people as possible for health and wellness. So the next series of slides will give you some visuals. So this is what the outside of the McCain-McLean Sports Complex will look like. The full name, by the way, is the McCain-McLean Centre for Health and Wellness, which is a mouthful. So all the students have already abbreviated it to the M&M Centre. We're hoping that the candies don't copyright us on that. But anyway, this is the outside. Your view, looking at this from Lansdowne, as if you were on Lansdowne Street. You can go to the next one. So this will give you a sense of what it looks like on the inside. Here you see a configuration with the high-performance sports flooring and the configuration on the right-hand side. So we've got a few people playing tennis or potentially pickleball. And on the other side of that screen, you've got the configuration for basketball. So you can start to see the multi-sport elements of this. You'll also see around the bottom and wrapping around the left, the walking track. So that will be there permanently at all times. You can go on to the next slide. The space is very configurable for a variety of activities. So here you see it with the removable turf. So soccer can be played indoors in January, or the football team can be practicing so they'll win a championship and all those kinds of things. So why are you laughing? Football team will win a championship. And again, you see the walking track going right around the perimeter that will always be there available. So that gives you a sense, I hope, of what the sports complex will look like and the variety of activities that will be present in there. You can go on to the next slide. So I'll transition to the RP Bell Library, or SIL project, Center for Innovation and Learning. The library is approximately 84,700 square feet. It is a really big building. Our work on the library is very much rooted in Indigenous ways of thinking, being, and doing, and I'll make some references to that in the design. This renovation project will also vastly improve our environmental sustainability and durability, particularly in that building. It is the largest building on campus, so the work there has a large impact on our ability to lower our carbon footprint for the university. It will improve accessibility. We'll have new modern information technologies, modern spaces for services for teaching, learning, and innovation, improved indoor environment controls and quality, and this will help the university eliminate a very large chunk of deferred maintenance at the university, which is a financial consideration, obviously, for us. The next series of slides should give you a sense of what this will all look like. So this is the outside looking from the academic quad. Now, a lot of that looks pretty similar to what it does, except for one major difference. You'll see that the breezeway no longer has a breeze because it's glassed in. So that breezeway will become an indoor space, and in fact, the main entrance to the library will be in what we now think of as the breezeway, which you can see just to the left of center in that image. You go on to the next picture. This is the back, as we think of it today, of the library, and this is where the new community entrance will be. The large beech tree is being preserved, so that's still there. But you'll see the roads will be changed around for vehicular access to this back. The entrances will be graded so that it's accessible and so on. So there's a much easier way for the community to engage with the library and its resources and services. You can go on to the next one. So this image is of the inside of the breezeway, so now the glassed-in section, and what you're looking at is what will be the main entrance to the complex once the renovation is completed. On the right, you'll see the Flying Bean Cafe, so another nice space for folks to gather for coffee and so on. And on the far left, you'll see some of the social spaces that'll be put in there. On the next slide, this is towards the back of the breezeway, so to the left you would be facing Convocation Hall. So we'll have another space for folks to gather there. On the right is the entrance into the Octagon, into the main library. So you'll come into the breezeway from the academic quad in this entrance, and then go into the library through that entrance, which will be a new opening into the Octagon structure. You'll also notice symbols around that. So this is one of the key elements or places where we're incorporating Indigenous ways of knowing, being, and doing. So there will be Indigenous art, figures, and language incorporated on the entrances. And I think my last picture slide shows you what the inside will look like. So this is looking down from what we think of the main floor of the library today, coming in from the academic quad. So we are actually removing a good chunk of that floor, and you'll actually see down into the lower level, what is now thought of as a basement, because on that lower level we'll actually have the main community entrance off of the back. And you can see the updated colors, much more open, much more vibrant, and another two Indigenous elements I'll highlight that are being incorporated on the poles that you see there. Will have a tide tracker incorporated so that the tides of the Bay of Fundy are depicted in lighting, and in the roof, which you can't see, will be designed as a Mi'kmaq star to further incorporate Indigenous elements directly into the daily life of the university. I'm going to turn it over for the last slide to my Vice President to talk you through the construction timeline.
Good evening. Next slide, please. So it's a busy time at Mount Allison with this project. As we all know, we've started construction of the McCain and McLean Center with substantial completion ending this year. But before then, we will actually start some early works on the library component of the project. So people will see quite a bit of activity going on after convocation on the hill and other spaces. We need to do also some utility work and some preparatory work. And as we say, everything we need to do in 2026 must be done in 2026 to ready for next steps. Then along comes the finishing off of the interim library as the M&M Center. We get ready for the move. Then we do the move, and the R.P. Bell Library Breezeway construction begins in 2027. That takes a couple of years. We may then move back from the M&M Center to the library, because remember, the McCain and McLean Center is first having a life as an interim library. It's very important for us so that we support our students, our faculty, and all those at Mount Allison and the community to have a library when we renovate the library. It was a very difficult problem to solve. We also needed to solve the issue related to our fitness and intramural and athletics area in terms of an outdated and small space. So we are taking the two problems and sticking it together with one solution. So then when the library is finished, we return to service in the library and do the move back in 2030, and then we convert the M&M Center to its final form as a fitness and wellness center in 2030-31. Next slide, please. Next slide. You can keep going. I would like to point out that this summer there will be construction fences for around the library as we do this early work, preparing construction roads, preparing for the community entrance construction, and there you see some of the spaces on campus that will not be accessible. And then when we get into the main works of the library construction, next slide, please. Next slide. There will be an even larger fence around the library with work sites by the various firms, as well as we'll be needing some of the space in the Con Hall parking lot. The Convocation Hall will be remain in use during the entire experience. And in fact, actually, we've already done work in 3 or 4 and other spaces on campus to ready this. For example, Convocation Hall now in its basement is serving as a collection site for our library's collection. To give you some concept of the move, when we do the move between the two buildings, we're talking about 250 to 400 truck movements between the library and the M&M Center in 8 weeks. So Mount A staff have been working with John Apple and the CAO to make sure that there's good coordination. Would ask that council not approve a big sewer project on Lansdowne Street, please, during those 8 weeks, because everything has to be timed so that we get the moves done while the students are away and we can serve them well when they come back. Thank you very much, and we're really looking forward to the next steps, and I hope the members of Tantramar community members are as well.
Thank you very much for the presentation. This is wonderful to get an update again. I just had a couple of quick comments, and then I'll open it up to the rest of council. I was at the announcement, and thank you, Dr. Sutherland, for the invitation, with McCain and McLean, and just that focus on the wellness piece of the new field house. But not just, I think it's important to note, not just wellness, physical wellness. You think of a sports complex as being a physical wellness space, which it certainly is, but the overall, social determinants of health, mental health awareness, which is associated with healthy well-being, walking in a track, going and playing sports, being around other people, being part of a team, and all of that was captured from McCain and McLean during that conversation, which I think is important to note and just wonderful to see. The comment from the community partner and Anchor, and with the York Street entrance for the RP Bell Library, I've commented on this before. I think it's just wonderful to have that connection to the broader community of Mount Allison. I consistently say how I can't stand the terminology of town and gown. I hate it. I've always hated it. I think it creates a division, a historical division. And so moves like this to incorporate Mount Allison University with the community incorporating Mount Allison University is a huge advantage. What's good for Mount A is good for Tantramar. We wouldn't acknowledge on our highway sign the deep connection to Mount Allison University if it wasn't absolutely legit. So anyway, thank you so much for the presentation. I'll open it up. There's lots of comments I see. I'm not sure who is first. Okay, Councillor Butcher, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, super exciting. I've been looking forward to this for years now, I guess, and it's years before we'll be done, but I think it'll happen fast. I just want some clarification around the York Street entrance because I can't quite wrap my brain around it. So the breezeway will be the main entrance and there will be access from both ends of the breezeway? But the no says yes, no?
So the main entrance, there'll be effectively two main entrances to the library. One, the community entrance from the York Street side, and the other will be the academic quad entrance to the breezeway. Yeah.
So the breezeway will have one side of it as an entrance. Right now, you can come in either side of the breezeway. But when you refer to the community entrance off York Street, as it is now, the basement is the basement. So will there be cut out into the ground? Like right now, you go up some stairs and stuff and go around. So what will that look like?
That's one reason why the early works is happening this summer. The shape of that hill is going to change. The pathway, that's a bit of a pathway, will become a internal roadway, so people who need accessible entrance can drive up to what is now, you're correct, the first level basement and a wall with windows. There will be a door and entrance in that wall, and for people who have accessible parking passes will be able to park and gain access. So there's a great reshaping going on that hill. There's going to be fairly significant grade, obviously. And so the other piece that we're doing is we're blowing out the floor on the main entrance now so that you'll be able to look down into the area that's the community entrance and provide greater connectivity between the levels. Because when you're in that building now, you go in and you look up, you actually don't realize that there's 2 levels below.
Councillor Butcher, yep.
So the entrance at York Street will not actually be at York street level. It
No.
will still be up some,
You'll have
but
to
it will
go
be
up.
an access there.
Yes.
Got
but-
it.
But we work very hard to figure out the grade and the vehicular access and how that will all work, right? Keeping still the beech tree, keeping also a better pathway around the York Street side of the building, so you will be able to walk around that like you can now, but it'll be much better.
Councillor Gauguin.
Thank you, Mayor Black. Thank you for the presentation. It's great to see how things are progressing. I'm just curious about the community aspect of this project. I know that it's been kind of touted that the community will have access to the facilities, and I think maybe the municipality's hoping that we'll be able to access some portion of it to either have the farmers market or have organizations that can like make use of the space. I'm just curious to know what kind of focus you guys, obviously it's gonna be for the students, but like how much public use are you gonna be able to provide to the municipality or other organizations? I know there is a lack of public space in town, and that is definitely something that we need to look at.
I think that's to be determined, but I think one of the benefits of the relationship and having the university and a strong Sackville, strong Tantramar, and a strong Mount A together is the coordination of physical spaces. So I often say to government partners, remember, when you come to Tantramar, there is only one rink. There is only one swimming pool, right? The town swims in our pool and the Mounties play in the town's rink. And I think that's the way it should be for the size of this community. So I would think the same ethos will continue in the M&M Center. That's one reason, for example, that the current idea on the turf does not impede the use of the walking track, so that we can have dual use. And we want multi-use, whether it's for a powwow, whether it's for a visiting convention who may want to come to town and use that in the summer. That's why it's a multi-purpose sports flooring, not hardwood floor. So we're quite excited about using that building as much as possible. And I would love to have more demand than we could keep up with, right? That would be a great thing. So that's yet to be determined. And not to steal the thunder of the next item on the agenda, we were so pleased at Mount A when Matt and his team with the consultants reached out to us to engage us a little bit on Tantramar's recreation master plan, because we see one plan.
Follow-up, Councillor Gauguin.
Just to follow up on the flooring, like you showed the turf and then you showed the like the basketball court and that. Is there going to be something that like, obviously you don't want people walking on your basketball court and you don't want people just walking on the turf. Is there going to be like just a simple flooring that people can walk on?
Well, I would think, I mean, this is the interesting thing about that type of flooring now. It is by design multi-purpose, so you can do different things. Now, we might having some kind of covering. So for instance, right now, we're doing exams in our gym, right? But this type of flooring is by design able to handle all sorts of things. The turf, less so, turf is turf. But, and that's a little bit to be determined because, to be honest, this technology changes so quickly that we didn't want to pick it now to install in 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Wiggins-Caldwell.
Thank you, Mayor Black. Thank you, Dr. Sutherland and Vice President. I'm really excited to hear you say about the collaboration of the town and the university, because that is so important. And am I right in saying that it's going to be open as much as you can to the municipality of Tantramar, that the citizens will be able to use this? That's great. And thank you so much for the update. I can't wait to see this all happen. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Councillor Finney.
Yes, you said on the York Street side, that big hill that we used to back up to the doors instead of going to the back door of the library, that's going to be all cut down? Is that what you were trying to tell us?
No, we can't cut it down.
Not completely.
So we're going to have to reshape it. I mean, the access road will be fairly steep, but it'll come up and it'll swing around the hill. So the path that you're referring to, Councillor Finney, that's going to go, because the loading area, as you may recall, will be is going to be put in another spot. It's moving to actually the area on the town side of near the breezeway.
Curious. How did you get McCain McLean instead of McLean McCain? How did you get that?
It's named for the donors, and they stipulated the name. The donors chose the name.
As it should be. Okay. Thank you again so much for the update. Really appreciate it. And as the deputy mayor said, it'll be amazing to see the building continue to go up. I'm sure there'll be further updates from Mount Allison as we roll along. But thanks so much. Appreciate it. Moving on to 2.4, Recreation Master Plan, RC Strategy. So virtual, we have Megan, I hope I say that right, Megan or Megan, I'm not sure, Carrie and Mike Roma. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay.
Yes, Your Worship, yes.
Great. Well, I was going to say the floor is yours, but the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I will share my screen. We do have a presentation prepared tonight. I'll conduct the presentation just in mindful of our 10-minute allotment. My colleague Mike Roma, who's also co-project manager on this project, will be here to address questions as well, and Megan Dingwall, who has been engagement lead on the project, and some of you might recognize from when we were there in October conducting our engagement for the project. So, Mayor and Council, thank you so much for the opportunity to present to you tonight a process update on the Recreation Master Plan. The purpose of our presentation this evening is to provide you with an overview of our planning process. We have completed what we heard and what we learned reports. We are in the process of finalizing the master plan, so we have workshopped a draft of the master plan with administration, and we'll be presenting to you those strategic foundations and directions this evening, and to gather any insight you may have that will support us in finalizing your new recreation master plan. So we think it's important just to reiterate or to remind all the intentions of the recreation master plan. So this project was undertaken to help the municipality, which includes staff and council, plan for the next 10 plus years. The Recreation Master Plan will be structured in such a way that it will help administration bring forward recommendations around prioritizing investments to help make informed decisions into the future, make efficient use of resources, and to ensure that our recreation opportunities are accessible, sustainable, and aligned with community interest and need. So we say the term recreation, we certainly do mean that larger umbrella of recreation that takes into consideration structured physical activity, but also unstructured activity, being out, enjoying nature, enjoying parks and trails, and also enjoying arts and cultural activities as well. Oh, sorry about that. As I mentioned, there's two key background reports. So the first is a what we learned report, and that is a synthesis of all of the research that went into supporting the development of the Recreation Master Plan. It includes a community profile, geodemographic analysis, so pulling in geospatial analysis to understand the community demographics, where our population distribution exists throughout Tantramar, as well as access to facilities and spaces. And we're able to leverage some existing data that the municipality had, but also incorporating some movement data as well to see how our spaces are being used and help us tell that true story of municipal need and use of our spaces. We have a fairly extensive background review of planning and policy documents. It helps to incorporate and ensure that we're aligning the planning work with that existing direction that will help to ensure implementation into the future. We did a fairly in-depth analysis of the current recreation system. That included looking at utilization and service levels, partnerships, program delivery, really to understand what that current state looks like, where we can be sure to address the strengths that exist and as well as opportunities for future enhancement. And we lastly did look externally, so bringing in key sector considerations and leading practices. What might we be able to draw in and learn from other municipalities, or what's happening more broadly in the recreation sector that might influence Tantremar's provision of recreation into the future? In terms of the What We Heard report, we also, that is a synthesis of all of the engagement opportunities that we conducted as part of this plan. So we had a fairly robust process. We had a resident survey that yielded 298 responses, so we were really pleased to see that response. We hosted a variety of community group meetings, so that included a focus group meeting, so hosted in person, a focus group with your existing organizations, as well as a virtual component to that, and then some individual meetings with other community partners, such as Mount Allison. We then conducted engagement with youth, so connecting with students at local schools through discussion sessions and through a survey, and as well had the opportunity to host some pop-up events at the arena, as well as in Dorchester, and taking in some community events. So our plan brings forth key strategic foundations, so providing that foundation that is going to help articulate the intentions of why you invest into recreation. We looked keenly at the existing mission, vision statements, as well as the mandate for the department that existed in the previous recreation master plan, and workshopped with administration as to how we want to update and reflect our current municipality of Tantramar and revising those vision and mission statements while holding true to where we're hoping to, where we'll get to based on our investment in recreation. The mandate statement we think is very important, and we brought that forth into this master plan as well. It provides clarity around the role of the active living and culture department of the municipality. It signals to your residents and to visitors and to partners what the role of the municipality is in providing recreation opportunities to residents. The master plan is structured around that key vision, which we summarize down to move, connect, and belong, and that's the community that we're working towards. And to support achieving that vision, we've established 5 strategic goals that define what success will look like in helping us move towards that vision. Those goals are supported by specific objectives, and those objectives provide the outcomes that each of the goals are working with. Within, organized along that, we then have specific tactical recommendations. There's 16 in total, and these are actions that we're recommending the municipality take to help them meet those objectives and ultimately the goals in aligning with the vision. To support all of that, we do have an implementation plan that will ensure this becomes an actionable and practical plan for the municipality over the next 10 years. The 5 key goals that we've identified within our work focus on active living and wellness, equity, collaboration, communication, and sustainability. And so those 5 key goals then get articulated and aligned with the specific recommendations that we have in the master plan. As I mentioned, we have 16 specific service delivery recommendations. I wanted to highlight a few of those key recommendations to you this evening. The first is to establish a Parks and Recreation Working Group, along with a supporting Arts and Culture Working Group as well. We believe that bringing together key community contributors will help to strengthen the service delivery of opportunities within the community. It will help to enhance and leverage resourcing and make for a more active and connected community. We've developed a program delivery framework This is a decision-making tool that will help administration determine when it is best for the municipality to deliver programs and when it is best to look for partners or other opportunities to deliver programs that may meet or align with resident demands and needs. We believe that it's important to continue to strengthen those regional and local partnerships. These include partnerships at the Regional Service Commission level, but also within the community with community partners, most importantly, touching on that partnership with Mount Allison that we just heard about. Certainly within our recommendations, we do include a key recommendation around establishing a formal partnership or memorandum of understanding between the university and the municipality. The purpose of this will be helping to define community access to university spaces and also university access to community spaces. So really building on that key relationship that provides important opportunities to your residents to provide opportunities for recreation access. There's specific recommendations around policy and process improvements. That includes the development of new policies to support the delivery of recreation, including an allocation policy and a fees and charges policy, and recommendations around how data can be leveraged to further understanding of community need. We do also include key recommendations around future strategic planning for the enhancements of trails and supporting active transportation throughout the municipality, and particularly looking at options as to where connectivity can be enhanced between urban and rural areas. One of the key pieces in terms of our recommendations as well is looking to infrastructure. So one of the big move, we've called it, is exploring the feasibility of a multi-purpose community recreation hub. One of the key pieces of feedback that we receive consistently throughout our different engagement intakes, as well as looking at your different opportunities and our analysis of utilization, is the need for a multi-purpose community space. So certainly we know that community members are looking to facilities such as University of Mount Allison, as well as looking to community partners to have that flexible community space to host various programming that they want to offer and are desired by the community. Certainly we see this as a potential opportunity to enhance current active living within the community. And therefore we're recommending the exploratory of a feasibility study around a multi-purpose community hub. Within the master plan, we have outlined the justification for this based on the research and engagement conducted, as well as providing a high-level direction around potential implementation to a feasibility study and business case planning that would take place over the next 1 to 5 years. Certainly this has a longer-term implication, but a piece that was identified within our engagement of the community as a potential facility that would help to meet the needs of the community today, but also of your growing community, and align them with some of our neighboring communities, such as Amherst and Moncton, where we're seeing community members traveling to have access to these types of spaces. So appreciate your time this evening, fairly close to that 10-minute limit that was provided, but certainly happy for our team to answer any questions that you might have on our current process where we've created a draft of the Recreation Master Plan.
Thank you very much. Excellent presentation. I'm sure there's much, much more that you could have talked about, and I appreciate the 10-minute cutoff. I'll open it up to council members first. I do have a couple of questions, but I'll just hold off. Councillor Gogan.
Thank you, Red Black. When I read through the report, I saw a lot of information, and definitely there's a huge subset of the community that was highlighted, and that's the teen portion of the age or the community that's doesn't really have anything to do. So I think focusing on that aspect would definitely help with the community, to have them do things and reach out to community partners and stuff like that to help out. But I'm especially happy to see that there is something about a community hub or a multi-purpose center, because this has been something that's been talked for years, and it's just kind of been, well, not right now, not right now. So now we have something to say concretely that, hey, this is the time to do it, and obviously this report is definitely showing it. So I don't really have a question, but that was my comment to the whole report, and thank you for delivering that to us.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll ask question. So I had a question about accessibility. Within the Recreation Master Plan, you had the 5 goals, and I'm just curious where accessibility fits into those goals, or is it more that it's broadly considered in the mandate of the Recreation Master Plan? So that rather than it be targeted specifically, that it's just assumed that accessibility would be within the 5 goals? I just wondered if you could comment on that.
Thank you, Mayor Black. So certainly accessibility and inclusion are embedded within the mission statement and the overall intentions of the master plan. Within Goal 2, equity, we do have included there considerations around accessibility, including the objective of targeted supports for underserved populations and communities. And we have considerations as well within our recommendations to advance adaptive programming, as well as considerations around accessibility within our key spaces. So those are embedded within the broader document as well.
Okay, thanks for that. And I guess just following up, I guess in Goal 2, you were talking about equity. I wonder if there was any conversation around accessibility from a marginalized community standpoint. So low income, LGBTQ plus community, accessibility under the guise of safe spaces. Is that something that was considered as well within the Recreation Master Plan?
Yeah, it was as well. So we took into consideration, as I mentioned before, that kind of those living with disabilities, but also with our LGBTQ2S plus community, newcomers, low income, and Indigenous community members as well. So broadly to where we can think through more inclusive programming to ensure that all of our residents feel welcome and feel reflected within our recreation spaces and programming.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Councillor Tower.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. I think there's much more to be read into it than we could see it on these screens. And my concern is that the multi-purpose hub, or whatever you want to call it, is put at the very end to talk about, and you talk about this being a 10-year plan, and I personally think that conversation is going out too far, especially when we have the really big need for a library of a larger size. Even though Mount Allison is building theirs, we have ours as for the communities, and it's used a lot, and it needs a space. So seeing where it was placed in the report, I'm hoping doesn't mean that we should be waiting 8 to 10 years to get this. But you talk about a working group for recreation, a working group for arts, but there is no working group dealing with that kind of a project. Farmers market is big. They can do fundraising, and it's an important part of our community. And then you add the library to it. They can do fundraising. And it's another vibrant part of our community. So I really don't like how it's being pushed to the back of your report. I think we should be looking at it at a sooner date, especially considering that Mount Allison is building all these. We have lots of permit money coming in, which could also help with the whole process.
Through your worship, so thank you, Councillor Tower. Certainly your point's well taken. Within the master plan document, we do start and make the recommendation that within the next kind of 1 to 3 years that the feasibility study, including a business case, should be developed and presented to council. We definitely heard the importance and need for this type of space within the community. Megan and I had the opportunity to be there and spent a Saturday at the farmers market and saw how busy the community was, hearing from the senior groups, the arts and culture groups about the need for this type of space. So certainly your point is well taken, and we'll take that back to administration and ensure that it's properly represented within the final master plan document.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Finney?
Yes, could you tell me, as a matter of fact, I'm curious to know, you talk about a multicultural center. Have you got a place where I could go and see exactly what one looks like that you have in mind?
Through your worship. So certainly there's some examples. I think, I believe in Shediac, there's a new example of a multi-generational facility. I think if we look to Amherst as well, there's some examples there of some good multi-use spaces that bring together kind of different opportunities and participate. Certainly within the background documentation, though, we can make sure that there are some examples of good multi-use spaces and multi-generational spaces that highlight what that mixed use can look like by including a library, programming rooms, even potentially some office space in there as well, and a gymnasium, but we can provide some examples as to what that might look like.
I just want to say thank you for mentioning the one in Shediac, because I went to it shortly after it opened, and I've been talking about building one like that here since then, and that's been 10 years. I think it's wonderful. It's a great building. I have a story to do with it, but I won't tell you now. But I think it's a great idea. I didn't know there's one in Amherst. I'll have to check that out. Amherst is one of my old stomping grounds, so I'll have to go over and talk to the mayor and see exactly what he can tell me about the facility. But thank you very much.
Spring Hill as well, they've got some spaces that would be maybe something similar that you're thinking of.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Pride, did you want to make a comment?
Thank you, Worship. Councillor Finney, I just wanted to add to that as well. The Crosman Center in Moncton would be another example that has multiple, walking track, gymnasium, rink, lots of community space, fully accessible. There's a new build happening in the Capillet Arena as well. In addition to that, that would be, similar to what we're talking about here. So there's other examples out there as well. There's quite a few of them.
Yep. Councillor Finney?
Those two places you talked about, how old are they? When did they do them?
Mr. Pride?
I'm trying to remember. I've seen the date for the Crosman Center. It was the old K Arena, and it was rebuilt, but I'm not sure exactly how old it is. Probably 15-ish years. Yeah. And then the one in Capillet, it's the old rink, and they're adding on to it, and they're still under construction.
I do remember the one in Moncton, the Crosman one, because I went up to the opening of that too, as a matter of fact. So, thank you. I'll have to check out the Capillet one.
Okay. Seeing no more comments, questions, thank you so much again for the presentation. Thanks for dialing in virtually too. Really appreciate that.
Thank you for having us. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thanks. Oh, sorry. Councillor Tower?
The Crosman Center was built in 2008.
2008. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for that. Moving on to number 3 of the agenda, adoption of minutes. 3.1, regular council meeting, March 10th, 2026. There's a motion to be read there. Deputy Mayor Wiggins-Caldwell.
Thank you, Mayor Black. I move that council approve the agenda of the regular council meeting of April 14th.
The
No.
approval of minutes, sorry, the next one down.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
I move that council adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting of March 10th, 2026 as circulated.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Wiggins-Caldwell, seconded by Councillor Gauguin. Call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 3.2, special meeting of council, March 16th, 2026. Again, a motion there. Councillor Butcher?
Thank you. I move that council adopt the minutes of the special meeting of council of March 16th, 2026 as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Butcher, seconded by Councillor Tower. A call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 3.3, Committee of the Whole, March 23rd, 2026. Councillor Martin, go ahead.
I move that council adopt the minutes of the Committee of a Whole meeting of March the 23rd, 2026, as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Estabrooks. Call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 4, consent agenda. Again, one motion. Sorry. To read the motion? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 items under that consent agenda motion. Councillor Estabrooks.
Thank you, Mayor Block. I move that council approve the consent agenda of the regular council meeting of April 14th, 2026.
Moved by Councillor Estabrooks, seconded by Councillor Gauguin. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay. Nay from Councillor Hicks. Motion passed. Oh, sorry. Nay from Councillor Hicks and Councillor Finney. Motion is passed. Number 5, reports from administration. 5.1, natural asset mapping. Mr. Kelly Spurls.
Thank you, Worship, members of council. The purpose of my report today is a proposal to engage Mount Allison University's GIS specialist to create a national assets map of Tantramar for inclusion in our forthcoming climate change adaptation plan. So as you may remember, or you will probably recall, Tantramar is in the process of creating a climate change plan. The municipality committed to this plan in 2024 with a motion to move forward with the plan, and in 2025 with a motion to provide funding, along with a significant amount of funding that we received from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities through their Green Municipal Fund, Climate Ready Plans and Processes. So between that funding and funding that we are providing, we have the money to do the plan. So the plan has been ongoing for some time now, working with our partners, EOS Eco Energy, who are honestly the brains behind the operation. They have done a whole lot of community consultation. They've done some exercises in risk analysis, and they've done a lot of work with consultation with experts, and they are now moving forward with the natural asset mapping project. So this project would be done with Mount Allison's Department of Social Sciences, who have a GIS person and other related expertise, and they are looking at taking on the natural asset mapping component of the plan. The fee for this work is $12,173.91 plus HST, which comes out to $14,000, which is the amount in the overall climate adaptation plan budget, which was previously approved by council and which is included in the grant we received from FCM, as I've mentioned. This is essentially a follow-up or upgrade of the 2022 Natural Asset Map, which was created by the Municipal Natural Assets Initiative for the previous town of Sackville, and this project will expand the Natural Asset Map to include all of Tantramar. So the other significant thing I wanted to mention on this project is that, as far as I know, this may be the only project ever brought forth that moves all of the climate lens things towards. So we're quite pleased that this will be done, and as mentioned, this is an important part of the completion of the climate change adaptation plan. So the options, of course, are that Tantramar enter into a contract with Mount Allison to undertake the Natural Assets Mapping Project, as mentioned, with the fee of $12,173.91, or the other option would be that the Tantramar does not enter into that contract with Mount Allison University. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions if I can.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly Spurls. Councillor Tower.
Thank you. Thank you for that report. For clarity, how much was the grant from FCM?
I don't remember the exact number, Councillor Tower. I'd have to look it up and tell you, but I think it was in the $93,000 range. Does that sound familiar? And then we contributed $12,000, something in that range.
Okay.
I'll look it up.
Just show the partnership we've established.
I think we were, I About 85% funding we received from them for the project.
Thank you.
I think Councillor Butcher, you may have been next.
So this is for clarity for me. So the proposed fee for hiring or working with the people at Mount A who have the expertise would be $12,173.91, which was the budget that was already approved by council. And that is included in the grant we received from FCM. So what we are voting on now is not about the money, because that's already been approved. It's about whether or not we use this money to hire the expertise of Mount Allison. Is that correct, or am I getting that wrong?
Mr. Kelly-Sproles?
Thank you. Essentially, it's, you're mostly right. But we have to bring it to council because it's over $10,000. If it was under $10,000 and it had already been approved as part of the budget, we'd be able to move forward. The reason that they chose Mount Allison was they looked at the organization. There aren't a lot of organizations that would do this sort of work, and they looked at the organization that had done the previous map, and they would charge $25,000. So this is a significant savings from by going with Mount Allison instead of the other group.
Councillor Finney?
Yeah, you answered my question, because I was wondering exactly why Mount A and why you didn't put it out to tender. But it's because the other people were 25,000. Would they do a better job?
The information that I have from ES Eco Energy, and I quote, is they would do the exact same thing. So it's a fairly technical project, so the parameters are quite exact, so they would do the exact same thing.
I remember the work with MNAI for the former town of Sackville, which was it was great work. And considering not just the natural assets that we have in Sackville itself, but significant natural assets in Dorchester, and then, of course, the former LSD areas, I think that this is just wonderful. We'll be able to target those and see and have metrics on them, and potentially then look at KPIs on how the municipality can work to incorporate natural assets within other, like strategic plan, for example, or other planning elements within active living and culture, I think is just, a slam dunk. So this is wonderful news. Appreciate the report. Yep.
My friend here has pointed out, sorry, Director Taylor, has found the report about the budgeting for the fund grant, and the grant was $70,000, and we put in $12,700. So it is 85% is funded by FCM and 15% by us. So, thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, so we do have a motion for this as well, if somebody would be willing to read that. Councillor Butcher. Councillor Butcher, sorry. Sorry, Mike, I could have pushed the button too.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Beal. Thank you, Mayor Black. I move that council approve the contract with Mount Allison University to undertake the natural asset mapping project for the Tantramar Climate Change Adaptation Plan in the amount of $12,173.91 plus HST.
Moved by Councillor Butcher, seconded by Councillor Hicks. Any last questions or comments? Call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 5.2, Bayview Estates request for provisional acceptance. Mr. Eppel.
Thank you. This report can be found on page 27, although I'm going to provide some additional information from what's in the report. So the purpose of this report was to bring forward a request that was made by the developers, Salem Properties, for Bayview Estates to have provisional acceptance prior to completing the road work and the turnarounds and the detention pond, and prior to providing all the things that are required in accordance with the development agreement for provisional acceptance. So their proposal is to, instead of having all those things in place, is to provide additional security and treat those things as though they were deficiencies. This is coming to council because as the Director of Engineering and Public Works, I do not have the latitude to make a decision on this in accordance with the wording that's in the development agreement. So the developer is looking for the tentative subdivision plan to be approved. In order for that to be approved, it would require that the road be accepted as a public road, which that is triggered by doing the provisional acceptance. We understand the reason they're asking for this is they want to accelerate the sale of lots and the building permits, and it could be that they've got a bit of a scheduling issue for themselves, where it could impact concrete work perhaps in 2026. I really don't have full insight as to why they've come forward with this. So they have signed the subdivision development agreement. However, the security that's defined in Section 3B of the subdivision development agreement has not yet been provided, nor has the cash in lieu that's defined in Section 17. And the cash in lieu is for the lands for public purpose. So what's remaining to be constructed is about 80 meters of road, the 2 turnarounds, and the detention pond. Obviously, curbs, sidewalks, and asphalt paving are also outstanding, but those are not required to be completed for provisional acceptance. The development agreement requires that the following be completed for provisional acceptance: sewer system, water mains, drainage swales and ditches, detention pond, and roadway construction, just the granular base for the roadway construction, not the asphalt. Provisional acceptance requires that there be preliminary as-built drawings, sewage leakage tests, and video inspection reports for the sewer, water main pressure tests, and bacteriological testing of the water mains, a statutory declaration, letter from WorkSafe New Brunswick, and joint inspection by the engineer, that being the consultant for the developer, the contractor, and Tantramar. Those things have not happened yet. So Salem Properties is proposing to treat the items 1 to 6 that I just listed for you just now as deficiencies and provide additional security for those. They've done an estimate for those. They would also provide additional security for the work that is not yet completed, the 80 meters of road, the turnarounds, and the detention pond. Salem Properties has also told us that they are aware that this has been done in other municipalities, such as Moncton and Dieppe. They say that they commonly allow provisional acceptance with additional security. We have not checked directly with them ourselves on that. In terms of legislation and policy, we would caution that council should view this with the bigger picture, because if council goes down the path of accepting this proposal, then the next developer in the door is going to want to do this as well. And so if anything, if we're going to proceed down this path, then we should really be considering changing the standard subdivision development agreement language that Tantramar uses. From a legal perspective, and I will apologize, I'm actually going to read a couple of paragraphs to you here. We got legal input yesterday, it came in. So Stuart McKelvey recommends denying the request as it stands because the work is not done as was agreed in the subdivision development agreement. The acceptability of the underground work is unknown as it has not been tested. There is a risk to Tantramar that the work is not satisfactory and that Tantramar must make it good if the developer walks away. Will the security be sufficient? The estimated cost does not include testing costs, Tantramar administration time, HST, any cost escalation, and the engineering oversight Tantramar would need to manage a completion contract. Salem Properties have not yet provided the letter of credit and cash in lieu, so Tantramar is already lacking in security. Once the tentative subdivision plan is registered, Tantramar will own the street and the infrastructure. Tantramar does not want to inherit infrastructure that is not completed or deficient. Otherwise, subject to legal actions against the developer, etc., Tantramar would be on the hook ultimately to repair the work. A concern is that issuing a provisional acceptance certificate as proposed by the developer means Tantramar is telling the public and future lot owners that the works are acceptable when Tantramar has no engineering basis to say that. There is a practical enforcement angle worth keeping in mind. If a precedent is created approving provisional acceptance before the works are tested and the detention pond is operational, Tantramar would have a very hard time saying no to the next developer who comes in with a similar ask. The detention pond is a good example. It's not just incomplete, it's not functional at all, and stormwater management is exactly the kind of thing that creates liability for municipalities if a neighboring property floods before the system is operational. Approving now, even conditionally, makes it harder to hold that line later. If the developer's proposal is to be considered, Tantramar would have to prepare their own estimate of the value of the remaining work and have a higher amount of security than proposed. Ideally, Tantramar would get the outstanding security in place as identified in the subdivision development agreement. I'm getting tired of saying that word, or words. Finish the road structure successfully, conduct the required tests, and then do the inspection properly under Section 14 of the subdivision development agreement. That protects Tantramar and protects the developer too. If there is a failure in the installed works, better to find it now than after the lots are sold. So that was the feedback that came back from legal. So the identified options are pretty basic. It's accept the proposal as put forward by Salem Properties, or decline the proposal and follow the subdivision development agreement. Based on the feedback from legal and some of our own thoughts, we're recommending that council require adherence to the subdivision agreement terms and deny the developer's proposal. I apologize for speaking so quickly.
It's okay.
And at length.
You did a fantastic job. Thank you for that. You will see in the package that there is no motion for this, and that, of course, is because staff is recommending to not move forward with it. That doesn't necessarily mean that council can't make a motion to approve the what's put forward from Salem Properties. Anyway, just want to point that out, so I'll open the floor. Not sure who is first, so I'll say Councillor Tower.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. I have no desire to make that motion. I definitely accept Mr. Eppel's report and our lawyer's report. When I was reading it, even without the lawyer's feedback, I didn't see anything good coming out of this. So, and I don't want to open the door to Pandora's box. So I really support their suggestion. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Gogan?
Thank you, Mayor Black. I agree. It's definitely opening us up for potential skirting of the rules in the future. I'm kind of intrigued because we approved a huge tax rebate for them under the assumption that they were building all these properties, but then now they're saying they're going to sell the lots. So how is that going to work? Like, because we approved something, so like, I know this probably is a question for Mr. Beal, but like, we approved a tax rebate based on what they were building, but if they're going to sell the lots, then it doesn't, that's not available anymore, correct?
Just before that question is answered, I just, the importance of wording, I do want to just say tax rebate or tax
Well,
break.
yeah.
It's an economic incentive, just to clarify,
Yeah,
just to
yeah.
make sure that we're not.
They're still getting a break on taxes,
break,
so I
right?
mean, yeah.
A tax break is a little different than an economic incentive, but I get it, I get where you're coming from.
Mm.
Mr. Beal, did you have a response to that question?
Yeah, I can answer, and you'll have to excuse me if I take a little coughing spell. You took it for me. So yes, so the Economic Development Incentive Program was approved. It was approved for the subdivision as is. If the subdivision or a portion of the subdivision is sold, the Economic Development Incentive Program follows through to those individual ones. So how the Economic Development Incentive Program goes is over, if it's over the 10 years, so in year one, it's 91%, year two, it's 82%, and so on. As the development happens, then those would fall in line, sort of thing. Trouble explaining it, sorry. But it's, so, Jeff, we had talked about this, so if you want to jump in anytime as well. But, so the Economic Development Incentive Program was for the subdivision as is, okay? The increased value of the subdivision would be the total economic development incentive at say year one, 91%, right? If that was subdivided off and sold off individually, each of those individually would be eligible for the 91% in that year one. Because it was at the time of the original subdivision, which is a R3 subdivision at the time. So that does fall within it. The subdivision, I believe, is broken down into units of 4 and 5, sort of thing. So I don't have all the details of how the subdivision, but that would be the Economic Development Incentive Program. Because a developer can build something and in year 4, sell that, with still having the Economic Development Incentive Program following through for year 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Mr. Taylor? I'm not as smart as Mike, but my head's a little clearer. So basically, the value of it gets locked in when they tell us that they want to do it, but then the benefit goes with the land. So if it's being divided into parcels, they'd each get a part of the tax incentive. So if it gets split up, it gets divided up into smaller portions, and the incentive doesn't stay with the developer, it stays with whoever owns the land. So if the land gets split up, the incentive gets split up.
Yep. Councilor Gogan? Oh, sure, Mr. Apple, sorry.
Just for awareness, when we were talking about the economic incentive, the tentative plan for the subdivision showed a series of lots. The value of what was being proposed was based on that tentative plan and will just be apportioned away as the lots get carved away and development happens.
Mm-hmm.
So it was always envisaged that there would be separate lots in this development.
Right.
So.
Yep, Councilor Gogan.
So if I have a piece of land, I can say, well, I want to apply for an incentive program on this. And
As
then
long as it's multi-unit.
if
Has to
it's
be
a
a multi-unit.
multi-unit project,
Yeah.
over 500,000 for 5 years, and then I could turn around and sell it and then give it to whoever's acquiring the property. So the economic incentive will go to the new property owner, correct?
Mr. Beal?
Yeah,
Mr.
that
Taylor?
would be correct. So the original owner is the one making the application for the economic development incentive. Once they make the application, and if council approves it, which was done, then that would tie to the property. The economic development incentive would tie to the property. If it was sold a year in, 2 years in, 3 years in, 4 years in, that would still tie to the property. The value of the economic development incentive program, as Mr. Taylor says, would stay based on the value at year one. So year one is the value based on what the economic development incentive program is gonna be based on, and the property could continue to increase. So let's say year one, it's 80% complete. And then year two, and they choose that as year one. Then year two, it's 100% complete. They don't get that additional 20% as well. So there's a benefit on both sides.
Yeah, Councilor Goya?
So if they're subdividing it and that piece or that property has 4 units, but it's under, the threshold is what, 3 million? For the 5 years or the 10 years, is it 3 or 5 for the value?
It's 5 million.
5 million? Okay, so if the property comes back assessed under 5 million, are we gonna bump that down to only the 5 years instead of 10?
That would be correct. It would fall within the next program. We had, there was one that was approved, and it actually just came in over the $500,000, when the original application had it close to $1 million. So it's gotta be based on the final assessed value. And if that one had have came in assessed at less than $500,000, we would have been reporting back to council, and they would not have been eligible for any economic development incentive. So they still have to meet the criteria within the economic development incentive program. And as Mr. Epple says, that when that was brought to council, it was shown as different subdivision and different lots within the original economic development, within the original plan. The initial understanding, my initial understanding was that it would be as one owner. But when you subdivide, you can sell individual subdivision lots within that. And the original application was still based on the full R3 project. So that is what the Economic Development Incentive Program is based on, is what the final value of that R3 total program is.
Councilor Goya?
But you're saying for the full value of the project, but it's still based on that specific PID, correct? It's not for all the PIDs within, right now it's all in one PID, so they applied for one PID, but as soon as it's subdivided, it's gonna be 5 or 6 different PIDs, so it will be the value of that specific lot.
The value of the original section, of the original application. The original application was for PID number X. So, when it's subdivided, it was still, the original application was for, when council approved the application, they approved it for a parcel, right? So that resolution and that approval was for that parcel. So when the completed project moves on to year 1, it's based on that entire program, based on that entire parcel of land, because that was the original request and the original application and the original approval. If it is broken down into six subdivisions, and those remain owned by one property, being Salem Properties, fine, Salem Properties applies for each of those rebates. If it is sold and there's 2 different owners, then Salem Properties would be applicable for those 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, and the other one would be able to have the incentive program applied for their portion, because they are the ones paying the taxes at that point in time.
Just really quickly, Ms. Bourne's going to speak to a little bit of this as well, but also just to go back to what we're actually talking about. The motion is for the provisional acceptance. It's not talking about the economic incentive piece. I know we got caught up in this conversation and we're seeking clarification, but the motion that is on the, well, not the motion, but the report from Mr. Epple that was delivered is around the provisional acceptance and if we should have it or not. Ms. Bourne.
Thank you, Your Worship. So while we should get back to the actual agenda item, I do just want to quickly comment because we know that this is a program that is actually under review by the Department of CCS. It's one of those things, post-local governance reform, that we certainly need to clean up because it's still, it's listed as Town of Sackville and within those boundaries. So for me, that's one of the pieces that would be under review. I could be missing it at the moment. Perhaps I don't have a searchable document, but what I'm only seeing is it's speaking to the program applies to the registered property owner. I'm not seeing right off the bat that any language of transferability. So just a piece for when it's under review, for clarity for the next council actually to review the document so everyone's on the same page of the transferability. It needs to have a more fulsome reference or criteria in the general conditions.
You're okay, Councillor Gogan? Yeah. Councillor Estabrooks, I apologize for the delay.
No worries, thank you, Mayor. Just a question, Mr. Epple. The last few sentences of comment from the legal opinion, could you just cover those again, please?
I'm not sure where you'd like me to start off from, but okay, so if the developer's proposal is to be considered, Tantramar would have to prepare their own estimate of the value of the remaining work and have a higher amount of security than proposed. Ideally, Tantramar would get the outstanding security in place as identified in the subdivision development agreement, finish the road structure successfully, conduct the required tests, and then do the inspection properly under Section 14 of the subdivision development agreement. That protects Tantramar and protects the developer too. If there is a failure in the installed works, better to find it now than after the lots are sold.
Councillor Estabrooks?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Black. Thank you, Mayor Black. And we're on. Thank you, Mayor Black. So that's exactly what I think we should do with this. I am familiar with this process and with security against, in lieu of subdivision, the development agreement process. Not exactly the same language or the same, but in a project context that in other employment. So I do get that as long as our risk is covered off. And it is done elsewhere. That's neither here or there. Our job is to make sure the risk is covered. And it seems like legal is saying in those last three sentences that as long as we do this, we're okay. And that's what I would suggest that we do. The developer is developing, and we need to support them. We can't throw the book out and just go off course. I don't think we should do that. So I think some of the language in the subdivision development agreement that we have could be tweaked. Yeah, so that's where I would say, as long as the security is high enough on the side to cover it off in case something was not right, we should be okay. That's my comments.
So following the suggestion from legal, that the municipality could do the work to kind of investigate what the project looks like and the viability of the job that's been done so far. Okay, to protect off. Okay. Councillor Finney.
It sounds like it's pretty complicated. To me, it sounds like they want to change everything for their own benefit. They agreed to the original. Let's keep them at that. There's one thing I noticed in here. It says there is a risk of cost to Tantramar in the event of a default by the developer where Tantramar must complete the work and the cost exceeds the security provided. This may have a schedule risk. Why do we want to take that on? Why do we want to turn around and change things? The development agreement is already in place. They agreed to it. Let them stick to it. They can figure out what to do. But to change everything just to turn around and make them a little happier, and we don't even know exactly well, I have to bring it up, the incentive program. I mean, there's just too many unknown factors, and I think actually we need to turn around and just hold them, decline what they want to do, and turn around and hold them to what they agreed to in the first place. So, thank you.
Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, Mayor Black. I think if we can help the developer out, as long as we got lots of security money put aside, then there's no risk to us if we got the money put there. We can finish it ourselves if we have to.
Councillor Butcher.
I have to agree with Councillor Finney. I just, if we set a precedent by having an agreement in place that is started and we're moving with that, and then the developer comes back and wants to adjust it and change the rules, and we agree to changing the rules, then the precedent we're setting is that when we come up with an agreement for a development or a change within our community, we maybe really don't mean what we're saying in the agreement, because we're going to shift it and adjust it later if you ask us to, and I'm not sure that that's something that we should be doing. I would love to hear why we should, but I'm not convinced of that right now.
Well, I guess for my 2 cents, I would agree with Councillor Hicks and Councillor Estabrook's. I think that it is important to deliver legislation or policy in a fair and equitable way, because it does keep the municipality from risk of someone saying, well, you did it for them, so why aren't you doing it for us? That is a concern. My comment to that is that each project that comes forward is a different project. Yes, it needs to all follow kind of the same rules, but in this case, even just finding out from the municipality side, as legal has suggested, if we can protect ourselves enough, I think at least taking that step to support the developer. Maybe the information that comes back from our own staff upon doing some research is like, look, this is the risk is too much, it's too great. Then at least we have some idea, well, some reason to say no, but we also have a reason to say yes. So I think it's important to at least attempt to see if we can help the developer in this way. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. Rather than just saying, no, we're not going to do it because we want to make sure that it doesn't come and bite us later on, because someone's going to say, well, why'd you do it for them? You didn't do it for us. In this case, if we've done the research, we can say why we did it for them and why we're not doing it for them. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Yep, Councilor Butcher.
So I understand the tail end of the legal. I do like to have stuff written, and that I realized why it wasn't, because it came in at the last minute. So the tail end of the recommendation from legal suggested some alternatives, but legal did say they recommended that we not accept this proposal. But what we're discussing now is going against legal advice and doing a maybe?
Well, they said that the legal advice is no, but at the end of it said, this is a way that the municipality could be protected, could protect themselves from the risk by doing this particular thing. But aside from that, their recommendation is to not go forward. So they're kind of saying, no with a but.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor Wiggins-Caldwell.
Thank you, Mayor Black. I did research on this too, and I do agree with Councillor Estabrook on this. This is done quite often with builders and developers in the Moncton area and different areas, and I think where this has already started and has an investment in there, and as long as we're covered underneath of it, with the legal thing, I do believe we should give this developer where he's gone this far to make it fair, and we do need housing, and I do support that.
Councilor Tower.
Thank you, Mayor. I understand the arguments being made, but I don't agree with it. It's legal is give us their opinion. You really shouldn't do this. But if you want to take that risk, we have to do this, this, and this. And then calculate the amount of dollars you might need to cover it all off, when right now we have a development agreement, they have an incentive program that's helping them out, and we want to take on the responsibility that, well, if you fail, okay, now we have to get into road building ourselves and maybe even end up selling properties to get everything back out. We'll end up with a road going nowheres until everybody else fills in. The report that from Mr. Epples researched into what the requirements are all about, what they're trying to do and what is required, and what's laid out for a development agreement. Why should we put taxpayers' money at risk for something that could end up failing? And here we are, forking out big bucks, and we may not have, in the end, got the right amount of dollars. So I don't think it's a risk we should be doing. I'd like to support developers, but there's a limit to pancakes here, and I think that putting the town at risk just to move this forward, when my understanding, you're gonna build all these houses in here, we're gonna have that kind of a development, you're getting this kind of money from the town, or we're not taking from you, whichever you wanna look at it, and now we want us to take a risk at the same time. So I think it's the wrong thing to do. I say we, as Councilor Finney, stay with the development agreement we have and move forward.
Councillor Hicks?
Thank you, Mayor Black. I see it as a developer wanting to get this on the go and get some money coming back. And as long as he's putting up enough security to cover the whole cost of finishing this road and stuff, I don't see any risk to it, any amount of risk to it.
Councillor Butcher, maybe last comment, and then
Yeah.
maybe we can get some kind of
I'm
head nod.
just looking for clarification, basically. So what we would suggest is happening is not going with what the developer has said is the security they would be giving, but our people would go and look into it all and come up with an amount that we feel would be the security. So what we would be possibly saying tonight is that we're willing to look into it, but we wouldn't guarantee that perhaps the number we'd come back with would not be acceptable to them. And then where are we?
It's possible. And then we just go back to
Back to the original?
back to following the original development agreement, I would think. Mr. Uppel?
Couple things to unpack here. Number one, the lawyers absolutely are recommending against doing what the developer has proposed. They have made one sentence in their response where they said, hey, if you're going to contemplate doing this, do your own estimate and get more security. Where they talk about ideally Tantramar would get the outstanding security in place, and I don't know if Ms. Goodwin might be able to put this on the screen, where they talk about that, what they're saying is follow the development agreement. That's what that last paragraph is all about, is it's all talking about follow the development agreement. The risk here is, yes, we can do an estimate for the value of the work that's not complete, and we can do the estimate for doing testing on the things that are supposedly complete. But when those tests come back and they show that 200 meters of water main fails for whatever reason, we will not have estimated enough money to go back and replace that 200 meters of water main. We just can't get to that because we did not witness it going in. The engineering consultant for the contractor says that they did, and they say it's gone in accordance with spec, but it hasn't been tested. So there's risk there. Is it manageable? Probably. Is there a risk, more risk than following the development agreement? Yes, absolutely. Even if we get more security, there's more risk coming to Tantramar.
Okay, thank you for that. Did council want to see that up on the screen at all, or? Okay. So, we don't have a motion, but I guess we do need a little bit of direction of whether we're going to accept the recommendation from Mr. Eppel's department and legal, or go a different route. So I guess I'll just ask the question of council, are you giving a head nod to keeping the development agreement the way it is? And we'll start from here and we'll work our way around. Okay, Councillor Finney, Councillor Martin. So yes to stick with the development agreement.
Stick with the development.
Okay. Okay.
Stick with the development agreement.
Okay. No? Yes? And I'm a no as well. So it's 5-4, so we'll just stick with the development agreement at this point. I said no. So 5-4, so we'll stick with the development agreement as such. So thank you, Mr. Eppel, for the report, and the work getting legal kind of last minute on that as well. Appreciate it. All right. Moving on to 5.3, Squire Street Lift Station. Again, Mr. Eppel.
We issued a request for proposals to hire an engineering consultant. We did it by invitation because the amount wasn't a great deal. So that went out to 4 local consulting firms, that being CBCL, Englobe, EXP, and WSP. They submitted, and so this is to upgrade the existing Squire Street lift station, which was constructed in about 1977. It has some original pumps in it and original control panel, and it's an interesting window into the 1970s in that building. It is approaching the end of its useful life, which I don't think would surprise anybody after about 50 years. We've had good service out of it, no complaints with that, but it is at the stage where we need to upgrade. So the proposal was, the services that we were looking for was assessment of the lift station, identification of upgrading options, design of the preferred option, a tender package, and construction phase services. The proposals were submitted on April 9th, so not a lot of time to review these, so we had, and the scoring matrix that we used was for project understanding, 10 points, services and deliverables, 35 points, schedule, 5 points, proposed team, 30 points, and cost proposal, 20 points. That adds up to 100. So we've scored these out of 100. So CBCL scored 70.3 points, Englobe scored 90.2, EXP scored 84, and WSP scored 72. So Englobe had the highest score and had the second lowest cost. And Englobe, taking the number of hours that the consultants allowed for the project and dividing that into their cost, Englobe had the lowest cost per hour. Overall, Englobe was the second lowest price. The lowest price was from EXP at $39,671, and Englobe was at $76,000. The next one was at $78,000, and the high was at $109,000. So EXP had the lowest price, but they also had significantly fewer hours allowed. They only allowed 271 hours to do the project, whereas Englobe had 575 hours. I guess from my end, the fear is that perhaps something got missed by EXP in allowing what they need to do. So after going through this and using the scoring and following the scoring, where Englobe has the highest score, and explained adequately that I believe that they've captured the scope, our recommendation is for the award to be to Englobe in the amount of $76,000 plus HST. The options are to authorize hiring of the consultant, authorize hiring of an alternate consultant, or not proceed with the project.
Thank you, Mr. Eppel. Ms. Goodwin is passing around the motion for this, just so council has that. Any questions or comments about the Squire Street lift station? Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, Mayor Black. I'm wondering if the end result with EXP is we gonna get the same thing, or what's the big difference in this? Why is there such a price difference?
Mr. Eppel?
I can tell you that EXP put significantly fewer hours in for the, excuse me 1 second here, I'm looking for it, for the design and construction phase. They had everything else, they were pretty much on par for hours, but in the design phase, they had way fewer hours. I'm going through my spreadsheets here, excuse me. Yeah, I don't have the hours here, but I do have the fees. So for design, EXP only had $12,000 and Englobe had $39,000. Looking at the other consultants for design, they had $37,000 and $31,000. So EXP really is the outlier. which causes me to scratch my head as to why so much difference. And so I suspect that the product would be different.
Councillor Hicks?
Thank you, Mayor Blunt. Would it be possible, EXP has done one of these stations the same, so they don't need to put that many hours in to do the design? Or as long as we get the design that's gonna work, that you're looking for, why would we go with a higher price is what I'm wondering.
Mr. Eppel?
It's possible, but I happen to know that Englobe's done one exactly like it at Queens Road. So they've got the experience too. All of these companies that we went to them because we know that they're qualified in doing municipal wastewater pumping station, lift station type work. So they all have qualifications in that area.
And I think, again, it's important to note, just to repeat, that this was evaluated on other things other than just price. I mean, we always focus on the dollar value, but the price, the cost proposal is only 20% of the overall metrics used to determine which one ultimately was chosen. But, Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, Mayor Blunt. If they're all qualified, I don't see, personally myself, I don't see us going with twice the price with another engineering firm.
Councillor Finney?
I have to say the same thing, as a matter of fact. I mean, I know EXP, and I know Englobe, and they're both good at what they do. Why would we pay more when we can get the same thing? So.
Councillor Goget?
Thank you, Mayor Black. I get what Councillor Hicks and Councillor Finney are saying, and I get what Mr. Eppel is trying to convey. My concern is if we go with the lower bid and they have undervaluated the amount of hours that they're gonna have to do, are they gonna come back and say, oh, sorry, we did something wrong and we need to modify the contract? Could that happen? Or are they bound into that contract that they have to provide a service for that amount?
Mr. Eppel?
Describing myself as a recovering consultant, the answer is yes. There's a risk. Could they do it? Absolutely. May they have missed something and be reluctant or not want to do certain things as part of the project or want to charge extra? It's possible. All of those things happen in the consulting and the contracting world. There are differences in their proposals. It wasn't just the hours and the money. For instance, EXP did not allow for operations and maintenance manuals, whereas Englobe did. There was other nuances too. Topo survey is allowed for by Englobe. Not sure if EXP allowed for it. Englobe is planning to use the NMS, National Master Spec System. EXP doesn't tell us anything about what they're going to use for specs. Englobe talks about using the Tantramar front end for tender documents. EXP is silent on that. We have a greater comfort level with the information that was provided that Englobe would provide the tendering and construction support versus EXP, but you know, without I mean, these are letter proposals, they're not lengthy proposals, so there's only so much detail in them.
Yep, follow up, Councillor Goget, go ahead.
Okay, so that kind of puts my mind to ease because basically you're saying that they kind of provided something, but not what you want, and then Englobe is obviously giving you all the information up front. I know that there's the elections coming up and you probably want to get this running. That's why we got added to the agenda tonight. Did you try to reach out to EXP to see what the discrepancies were? I know there's been a short time period. Is there anything else that you could provide that would make us want to go to Englobe?
Mr. Eppel?
So in all honesty, the review was only completed at about 4 o'clock this afternoon. So there has not been time to go back to the consultants and ask them any questions. I would say, from having worked on some fairly large projects, and one where there was a $10 million price difference between the low tender and the next one, is that you can buy an awful lot of aspirin for the difference in cost.
Councillor Estabrooks?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Block. Mr. Apple, could you just refresh my memory on the point scoring for the low bid and then the one you're recommending?
Yes, so the Englobe scored 90.2 and EXP scored 84 points. The breakdown was understanding, they both scored 9. Services and deliverables, Englobe scored 33, EXP scored 28. Schedule, they both scored 4. Proposed team, Englobe scored 29, EXP scored 24. And for price, Englobe scored 15.2 and EXP scored 19.
Councillor Estabrooks, did you have a follow-up?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Black. Thank you for that. So familiar with our RFP process and with the point scoring system, price and price alone is only 20 points. So, purchasing regulation, purchasing law that we're held to, that I'm familiar with, cannot be based on price alone. So I understand where that's coming from. It's the value in the service. Yes, it's more money, but being in that situation myself many times, that makes sense.
Okay. So we do have a motion that was passed around. If someone would read that motion, Councillor Estabrooks.
Thank you, Mayor Black. I move that council award the engineering for the Squire Street Lift Station upgrades for design, tendering, and construction phases services to Englobe Corporation in the amount of $76,000 plus HST.
Moved by Councillor Estabrooks, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any last questions or comments? Call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay. So nay from Councillor Finney and Councillor Hicks, yes? Okay. Motion passed. Thank you. Oh, yes, okay. Sorry, they're whispering in my ear. It is 9:30. Typically, our regular council meetings are done in about an hour. We still have some stuff on our agenda to go, so we'll take a 5-minute bio break, health break, just to stand up and stretch for a few minutes, and we'll reconvene at 9:27, 9:28. They heard it. Okay. We'll just, okay. All right. Welcome back. I think that health break was much appreciated. We left off on 5.3, so we're moving into 5.4, Code of Conduct 2026-01. That's on page 35 of the package. So bear with me, we do have a new formal complaint process to the Code of Conduct, which we will be following this evening. It is very similar to what our former Code of Conduct process was, although here we are in a public setting instead of it being closed session, which I fully appreciate. I do want to know just three things on this particular Code of Conduct complaint filed by Councillor Bruce Finney against Councillor Alison Butcher. A few things you'll of note. The complaint is found in the package. At the top of it, you'll see that there's pen marks on there of where it was received and who it was received by. I do want to point out that Councillor Finney was told that the Code of Conduct complaint was to be delivered directly to the mayor as per the bylaw. It was delivered to the acting assistant clerk, Mr. Taylor, which is why his signature is on it, and then that was then forwarded on to me. But I just want to note that in the future, unless a Code of Conduct violation is made against the mayor, which would then go to the deputy mayor, all Code of Conduct complaints, whether it's from council, staff, or public, go directly to the mayor. The second thing I wanted to point out is at the end of the Code of Conduct complaint, there is a requested resolution where Councillor Finney is requesting that a formal investigation by a designated person and a formal public retraction and apology from Councillor Butcher at a regular meeting of council, and a ruling from the chair or mayor that such personal attributions are out of order to prevent future occurrences. Again, in a Code of Conduct complaint, it is not up to the person who's making the complaint to suggest resolutions. That is for council as a whole to determine through the process if it ever even gets to that point. That was two. Did I say three things? I guess that was two things. Anyway, so that's how the process rolls out. I just wanted to point out to the public and those in attendance that that's not how Code of Conduct complaint violations are usually filed. So council, if we get to that stage, will come up with some kind of a sanction if that's the case. But tonight, what we're doing is we're going to review this complaint currently. Council shall determine whether the complaint is one of three things. A, frivolous, vexatious, or made for an improper purpose. B, was filed within the required time period, which it was, by the way. C, falls within the scope of our Code of Conduct. So is what's in here falling in scope of our Code of Conduct that we have? So basically finding merit. Council shall not assess the substantive merits of the complaint, so getting into the meat of it, at this screening stage. Council may summarily dismiss a complaint if council determines that the complaint is one of those three things that I had mentioned. So we are seeking to determine whether this has merit, where it is falling in one of those three things potentially. If it is, then council can make the decision to throw this out. Before that happens, both the person who made the complaint and the person who the complaint is against will have an opportunity to speak. So we'll start with Councillor Finney.
Sorry, I cut you off. The reason I brought it forward was because of the fact of what was said. The statement was that I suppose if the CAO had been a man, this motion wouldn't have been brought forward. I don't think like that. And I took exception to it, as a matter of fact. Whether it's a man or a woman that sits in that seat makes no difference to me, in any seat. And I've never, ever shown any indication of that I'm that kind of a person. So that's why I brought it forward, because I took exception to what she said.
Okay. Councillor Butcher?
Thank you. So there are 9 of us on council, and we are a team, and we are equals. And one of the things that I think is really important is that we are able to have discussions around motions. A motion was brought forward. The motion was on the table. We were discussing the motion. We need to be able, as councillors, to discuss during the discussion on a motion our thoughts, our feelings, our ideas around these things, because together we come to a consensus. So I was discussing the motion. I was mentioning my thoughts and feelings. I did at no time say that this was a matter of fact. I stated that I wondered if it had been a different CAO, if it wasn't a woman, if that would have come forward. And that was actually my thought process. One of the things that we talk about with government, all levels of government, is the need for transparency. And I feel strongly that if I am going to vote against a motion, it is my responsibility to share publicly so that the constituents know why I will not be voting in favor of something. And that's what I was responding to. We were debating a motion. I said, I wonder, because I was. I did not refer to Councillor Finney in any way whatsoever. I was discussing the motion. I don't think that any of what I said was inappropriate. I don't think that anything that I said was directed at Councillor Finney. I understand that it offended him, and it is his right to say he was offended during the open conversation, in the same way that it was my right to bring forward how I thought and felt. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you to both of you. Okay, so we've heard from both, so I'll now open it up. So again, council's determination right now is to figure out if this code of conduct complaint has merit. Is it frivolous, vexatious, made from an improper purpose, filed within the required time period, falls within the scope of this code of conduct? And again, as I said, it was filed in the required time period by Councillor Finney, so you can cross that one out. But frivolous, vexatious, improper purpose, or falls within the scope of this code of conduct, those are what we are discussing, whether this code of conduct has merit. If it's determined by council that it does, then we would take the next step, which is where, I think at a subsequent council meeting, I believe, is where we would determine next steps. So we would get into the meat of the potential violation, and then we would take next steps to do investigation if that's the will of council, what kind of sanctions there would be, but that's after the fact. So right now, determining if there's merit in the complaint. So I will open it up if anybody has any initial thoughts. Councillor Estabrooks.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Black. I personally don't think there's merit, and I appreciate Councillor Butcher in her words sharing with us what caused her reaction to that. And, you know, we're present in the moment up here, and those are real statements and feelings sometimes that come out. They're not necessarily prepared. And I appreciate that comment, because even though I am a feminist, which we all should be, I'm not a female, and I appreciate her sharing it from that first female perspective, point of view, how she reacted to that language. So that's my comments. I don't find merit.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. On which one, A or C? Frivolous, vexatious, improper purpose? Falls within the scope of the code of conduct? I guess would be A, maybe? But I'm not going to put that. Do you want to see it, Councillor?
I have it here. Just leave that with me. I'm used to the other process, so
Okay, sure. Yep.
where we determine merit
Yep.
or not, and then that was
Yep.
at a further. So give me a few minutes.
Okay. Any others? Deputy Mayor Wiggins-Caldwell.
Thank you, Mayor Black. I myself, as being a woman, I know we all sit here with the same feelings, but sometimes we really have to be careful what we're saying out. You know, I know it comes from your heart and you don't think about it at first, but I think we really should try very, very hard to think about what we're going to say before those 3 words come out, because it really could hurt somebody. That's all I have to say on that.
Okay, Councillor Tower.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, when I first look at it, the motion was brought forward by Councillor Finney, I believe. That
Yes,
was-
the motion that was being discussed
Right
when
on.
that comment was made. was-
And being a feminist, but not a female, I know that in this man's world, that those impressions can be made. And I understand where you have to look at it from that side too. There's 2 sides of the coin. And for her to explain it like she did, I can understand to a certain degree. I can honestly say, in my own mind, that the motion was not brought forward because it was a female CAO. I know that because he was going to bring something similar to it when our last CAO. So I knew where his mind was going with that. He's had that desire that we get back involved, so therefore I knew where it was coming from. Then we still have to look and say, how do we make our statements? And how we control those emotions. But in my world, I can say, well, you can go ahead and be that way because it's a man's world. But I have to look at the other side of the coin too and saying, well, you know, is this just another attack? And she did say, I wonder, which follows that gray line to saying, okay, you know, it may or may not be. She didn't tell him or accuse him directly, so I'm not really ready to say it's justified for this kind of a move.
Okay. Just to, I guess, when council is speaking, if you're deciding that there's no merit in it, if you could specifically say that, you can make a comment if you wish, to specifically say if you think there's merit in it or not. If you think that there's not, reference the either A or C. I'll give you my take, and maybe this will be an example. I believe that there is no merit in this complaint, and I would file it under either frivolous or improper purpose. In the complaint, Councillor Finney says that the motion was made from a sexist point of view. At no point was the word sexist ever used. I also am really cognizant of word usage, and in this case, Councillor Butcher, as she had said in her remarks, said, I wonder if this motion, so not speaking specifically to Councillor Finney in any way, was speaking directly to the motion. So I think that this is used in an improper purpose. I understand kind of where it's coming from, but the way that it's presented, I would say that it holds no merit and falls under A as improper purpose. So I don't believe there's merit in it for that particular reason. Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, Mayor Black. I think it's very important we give our thoughts, but we have to keep our feelings to ourselves, and I understand that maybe Councillor Butcher was upset at that, so she did say it, and it's hard to take that stuff back after it's said, so I think we have to be very careful on our feelings, our thoughts. Okay, give your thought.
Councillor Gauguin.
Thank you, Mayor Black. So when I first saw this come up, I watched the video 4 or 5 times, and trying to figure out what went through both councillors' head at the time. And I understand where Councillor Finney is coming from, but also I understand where Councillor Butcher is coming from, because when you watch the video, there's that, and then a pause, and Counselor Butcher is trying to collect her thoughts and figure out what exactly to come out. Was it the proper word? No, not really, but she did say, maybe it's coming. So it's not insinuating that it is coming from a malicious intent. And definitely we're all adults here, and sometimes we just need to take a step back and realize that, sometimes you may say things that could come out the wrong way, and it's just talking it out and basically just let's, talk it out and make sure that both parties are okay with the way that things, should it come to a code of conduct violation? I don't think so. Again, because in a way, it's not frivolous, but I understand where Councillor Finney is coming from, because it is a comment that was made towards him. I think it's just where it falls in the categories. I don't think that it's any of those, in my opinion. Yeah, see.
Okay. Councillor Martin?
I don't think there's any merit to it, and I would base it on A, and many of the things that the mayor himself has said. Yeah, I think that the emotions at times can get run away a little bit, but I don't think there's merit to a code of conduct against a councillor for this situation.
Okay. So Councillor Martin, A, myself, A, Councillor Gauguin is a C, when it comes to the three possibilities. Councillor Estabrooks is a C under, falls within the scope of this code of conduct. Anyone else? So we'll go around. Deputy Mayor Wiggins Caldwell, so not finding merit falls under C. Councillor Hicks?
I don't see merit in it, but I feel maybe an apology may be warranted, but that's my opinion.
If it didn't find merit, do you know what section it would fall under? Like, is it in the code of, do you find that it's covered within the code of conduct that we have? Or is it maybe frivolous, vexatious, or an improper use, or improper purpose?
I gotta say, I think an apology should be made, so I guess I gotta find merit in it.
Okay. Councillor Butcher, actually, no, sorry. I don't think Councillor Butcher can weigh in, correct? I think in the. Councillor Tower?
No merit, A.
Okay. Councillor Finney? I think you said
there's merit.
Merit in it, okay. Am I right in saying that I'm pretty sure in the bylaw, it says that the purpose, that the person who has the violation against them, or the complaint filed against them? Okay. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 6 people say no merit, 2 people say merit. So this code of conduct complaint submission has no merit, which means that it is. Oh, yeah, we need a motion. Okay. See, this is all new. Do you have a motion ready for that? Okay. That we can see? Should we put it up on the screen? Is that easier to do, or pass it around? Okay. Sure. Yep. Okay, Ms. Goodwin?
So the draft motion has that council hereby dismisses the code of conduct complaint dated March 2nd, 2026, and received March 10th, 2026 from Councillor Bruce Finney against Councillor Alison Butcher on the grounds that the complaint does not breach bylaw 2026-19, a code of conduct bylaw for the Council of Tantramar, and that no further action be taken with respect to this complaint.
Okay. So is a councillor should read that, of course, right? Is there a councillor willing to read? Okay. Councillor Estabrooks, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Black. I move that council hereby dismiss the code of conduct complaint dated March 2nd, 2026, and received March 10th, 2026 from Councillor Bruce Finney against Councillor Allison Butcher on the grounds that the complaint does not breach bylaw number 2026-19A, code of conduct bylaw for the Council of Tantramar, and that no further action be taken with respect to this complaint.
Moved by Councillor Estabrook, seconded by Councillor Martin. Call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So nay from Councillor Finney, nay from Councillor Hicks. Motion carried. Thank you. All right, so we did add 5.5. Ms. Goodwin, do we have a code of conduct number associated with this one?
202602.
Is it 02? Okay, so code of conduct 2026-02. Ms. Goodwin is going to pass around the complaint so that council can have a read. And can put it up on screen as well? Okay. And this will appear on our website afterwards as well for the public to see. Thank you. In the one that was put up on screen, and just, this is more for council because ours includes the name of the person. This was submitted by a resident, but we'll keep that name protected. So that's why nobody's seeing it on the screen, so just please be careful not to say the name of the person who has submitted this violation when we're, this submission of a violation. So please just be careful not to say his name. So has council had an opportunity to read this? Yeah, okay. So again, this is the exact same process. We determine if there's merit. Deputy Mayor Wiggins-Caldwell, would you like to have an opening statement, have some remarks?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Black, or Mayor Black, sorry. My nomination papers were passed into Elections New Brunswick. They were A-OK by using the email that I had used. They said that was fine. But since then, when I seen the complaint, to appease the complainant, I changed it back to a different email. So just to make it so there wouldn't be any more turmoil over this.
Thank you for that.
But,
Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
No,
that's okay. So, same process. The submission has been read by everyone. So again, we determine if it has merit. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, then it would fall in one of these three categories, A, B, or C. Anyone want to go first? Okay, Councillor Finney?
Yep, I was going to say, as a matter of fact, since the explanation by Deputy Mayor Wiggins-Caldwell, and saying that actually when she submitted her papers, they said it was okay, it was excellent. But then when the complaint came forward, she realized it was going to create more turmoil. It's not like it hasn't before, and so therefore, she changed it right away in order to comply. So to me, it doesn't hold any merit. So.
Do you want to declare now which one of those would fall under?
Sure.
Now, B, it can't be B because it was filed within the required time period, so
Okay.
it's A or C.
What was it? What's A or C?
A is frivolous, vexatious, or improper purpose. And C falls within the scope of this code of conduct.
I guess A, I think it would come under that. I think it's, no,
Okay.
just doesn't, there's no merit to
Councillor
it.
Gauguin?
Thank you, Mayor Black. So I'm looking at this and looking at the Election New Brunswick website and seeing all the candidates that are all over the province using their corporate emails for their submission papers. To me, there's no issues with that. If you have your email, it's perfectly fine. I kind of question, under the complainants, he says, under New Brunswick's Local Governance Act, mandatory code of conduct for members' councils explicitly prohibit from using government property, resources, or services in an unreasonable manner for personal gain or in support of a candidate in local government election. I could not find anywheres that it noted or quoted that.
It's in our code of conduct.
It's our code of conduct? Okay, because he's referring to the New Brunswick Local Governance Act.
Yeah.
To me, this is silly. We can use whatever email we want. If people want to use her personal email and email her, or go on her website and find her email. There's no, it's just, this is a waste of time and resources, and it's just, it's frivolous, so A.
Okay. Councillor Butcher?
Thank you. When I printed off the big nomination paper, I feel like I did see somewhere that you weren't supposed to use the town email, but I remember looking at it and going, oh, and I easily could have done what you did. So I put my own personal email, but it could easily have, it was just I don't see any merit. I think it's frivolous.
Okay.
It's already been fixed, and yeah, I don't think any harm has come out of it, so.
Councillor Estabrooks?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Black. I would agree that it shouldn't be your councillor email or your mayoral email used for that purpose. I just, I didn't realize that people were doing that. That does give what I would perceive to be an advantage or something that you shouldn't be using because it is government property. In my mind, that's just what you wouldn't do. I did the same thing Councillor Gauguin did quickly and just tried to find exactly what he was referencing within the LGA, which doesn't exist, which brings me back to our own code of conduct. Makes sense. Shouldn't use it. Deputy Mayor Wiggins-Caldwell has already removed it, which I would say is the fix to this, which I appreciate, and that levels the playing field, and from that point forward, I think it's a good learning lesson. So I will go with no merit, but C.
Okay. Anybody else? I'll go. I don't need to over-explain because it's already been said. I don't think there's any merit in it, and I would put it under A. I would say frivolous. I think it would have been just as easy to contact the deputy mayor directly, or, if that wasn't comfortable, contact the mayor, contact the CAO and say, hey, this municipal email address is being used in possible violation of the municipality of Tantramar's code of conduct. We reach out and say, oh, hey, no problem, I'll fix it, done. Instead of filing a code of conduct violation, I think it's frivolous, so I will say there's no merit. Councillor Tower?
I agree. When I was putting mine in, I asked, if I was allowed to use. And he says, by all means, there's nothing the province says in the Elections Act that you can't do it. If you want to use it, you can. And I did use it, but I didn't use it for the one they published. But it was listed there. And he said that it's happening all over the province, and it's just the way it is. The rules to say nothing says you can't do it. So I think this is totally frivolous under A.
Okay. Councillor Martin?
No merit, and under section A.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hicks? Oh, just one second.
Thank you, Mayor Black. I don't see any merit to it. She's still a councillor until May the 11th, and whether she gets reelected or not, then we'll know then. And I put it under A.
All right. I think that's everyone. I think everyone has spoken. Now, I believe that Ms. Goodwin may be writing a motion on the fly. It'd be the same motion as last time, same language around that there's no merit, there'd be no further action. Is there a councillor who'd be willing to read that motion? Okay. Make Ms. Goodwin walk.
Second one. Everybody ready? I move that council hereby dismisses the code of conduct complaint dated April 7th, 2026 against Deputy Mayor Debbie Wiggins Colwell on the grounds that the complaint does not breach bylaw number 2025-19A, Code of Conduct bylaw for the Council of Tantramar, and that no further action be taken with respect to this complaint. Look at that.
Moved by Councillor Finney, seconded by Councillor Estabrooks. Call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, and thanks for having that added to the agenda too. That really much appreciated. Moving on to 6, bylaws, 6.1, bylaw number 2026-21, a bylaw respecting the regulation of fires and burning in Tantramar. This would be second and third reading. I don't believe there's any further information from staff. Well,
Yes, we have from the solicitor.
I'm sorry?
From the solicitor.
Oh, okay, and who's presenting that? Okay, sorry, I apologize, so we do have some information from the solicitor, so Ms. Goodwin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So at the Committee of the Whole meeting, Councillor Hicks made a comment about limiting the permitting time from April to October. So it is noted in the council package that the municipal solicitor does not recommend doing that, specifically since those dates can be changed by the minister.
Okay. And that is reflected still currently in the bylaw we have in front of us. Okay. So aside from that, we have had a presentation from Mr. McDonald this evening. So aside from that, there is no further information from administration. So we have second and third reading. Ms. Goodwin, we should probably do second reading, and then if there's any discussion around potential change to that bylaw, or it would be an amendment to the bylaw, just in case somebody wants to look at grandfathering around the discussion that was had at presentations. I don't know who pushed their mic first. I'll say Councillor Gauguin. You're usually pretty quick to the draw.
Thank you, Mayor Black. So this whole bylaw has been a ball of fun since it came forward. I think the original intent was just to add ceremonial fires to it, and then we got added the bylaws, or the extra package of the fires. Then we came back and said, we don't want that, but then they came back and said, okay, we'll remove it, but then we're gonna add something about outside furnaces. I understand the intent of having the outside furnaces, but to us, if the insurance company is insuring that premise and including the outside furnace, it's not for us to be in the jurisdiction of having this added into the bylaw. I know there's one that is possibly why we're adding this, but to penalize all the other people and put extra work on staff to have to go and certify all these and put extra burden on the citizens of the municipality to either provide proof that it's certified. If it's not certified, to hire somebody to come in and certify it, then you're losing resources, money for that. To me, this just needs to be removed altogether, and let's just go back to adding the ceremonial fires in it, what the original intent was to it, and let's just leave everything else as is. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Let's just leave it as is, and so I like the way it's proposed, I cannot let it go forward.
Okay. While one of the intentions of the bylaw was to add ceremonial fires, it's the intention, correct me if I'm wrong, from the clerk's office, it's the intention of the clerk's office to review bylaws since amalgamation. And one of those is not, like, if you're gonna open up a bylaw that's reasonably extensive, you're not just gonna do one thing, you're gonna look at it and see what needs to be potentially cleaned up or widened to the full boundaries of Tantramar, particularly since we had such a crazy wildfire season last year. So there was also stuff around that, just to highlight that point. But point taken. I think maybe Councillor Tower was next.
Thank you, Mayor. I think the Grandfather Act has to come into play. These people who have them already set up and are heating with them, we do not need to, as has been said, reinvent the wheel and make them go out and check it again. I think that's something that, if you're gonna put a new one in, we can put regulations around it has to be inspected before use, which I think is a good idea. But also, to go back to what our legal says about making the restriction dates, as was suggested earlier, since the minister can change those dates, it could be we go with those restriction period or any new date that the minister decides. Because it's always going to be within a zone. And if our winters are getting drier, then the minister may want to take an extra month off and say, you know, it can't be that long. But otherwise, the minister has already established what that period of time is, and I think we should go with it, with the caveat that if he changes it, then we go by his dates. I think it should be maintained that way. You're putting restrictions on people that, you know, after all these years, why change it now? So, sorry, I don't agree with those changes.
Cognizant of time, our old Town of Sackville bylaw had a time limit on our council meetings, and we had to vote unanimously to make it go beyond that. We don't anymore. I think it might be important. I think it might be proper. Correct me if I'm wrong, Council. I think that there may be enough of us around the table who want to see changes within this bylaw. It may be worth it to, we have 2 special council meetings coming up where we could do second and third reading at those council meetings. So we'd have
We
to
can
have a.
schedule one. Yeah.
Oh, yes, that's right, because we can schedule a special meeting of council, where we can do second and third reading, and staff can take this back and cover the things that we would like to see changed. So noting that, so that we don't have to do second and third reading tonight at all, noting that, maybe keep your comments to what you would like to see changed within the bylaw. For example, I currently think that the bylaw should stay exactly the way that it is, with the solicitor, with the solicitor's note about the time period where the minister could change it. I think we should not bother including that. But I do think that there is definitely a need to have a grandfather clause for the existing outdoor furnaces, but having something in there for any new ones that are being built. Maybe just make sure they're certified, make sure they're installed by somebody who is certified as well. That's what I think I would like to see in there. But in order for staff to take this back, they're going to need some clear indication of what council would like to see within this bylaw. Councillor Butcher.
Okay. When Mr. McDonald gave his presentation, he referred to or thought that there had not been any issues surrounding, besides excess smoke, in outdoor furnaces. So for my own understanding, the outdoor furnaces that are within our municipality now, do they all have to follow CSA? Do they, like, have they been not by us, but by an other entity, a provincial fire entity or anything? Did they have to be certified? Did they have to be approved first? And if they were grandfathered in, has there been a problem with our fire services needing to go to those? Is there a reason why we looked specifically at adding that in? Because I think the grandfathering in makes sense too, but I'm just wanting some clarification as to why that wasn't suggested right away.
So I would guess that probably not all of the outdoor furnaces are certified, but I mean, I'm not going to say yes or no. But I'm not sure if the chiefs or anyone from the two fire departments that are represented here have any remarks? Deputy Chief? Just wait for your mic to be on. You got to be on camera.
The only concern would be if some of them have been homemade, basically. So some may have been homemade, and maybe they're all CSA approved, so they would be CSA approved when they were new.
Okay. So what you're saying is that there's a possibility that some of them could have been homemade, and if that's the case, then they wouldn't be CSA approved.
I'm not sure if they are or not.
Right.
That could be.
And so the second part of the question, again, to the fire department members, issues with existing outdoor furnaces? Like, is there anything to say about any of them that are currently burning? Has there been any issues that you've noticed in both the Sackville and Dorchester fire departments? Chief Bowser?
Through the mayor, so we have had some issues with residents calling for concerns of smoke within the area, but as it relates to the outdoor fire wood burning appliances themselves, we have not, to my knowledge, I can go back and check stats, but we have not had actual calls for that purpose.
Chief Partridge, did you want to comment?
Again, we have not had any complaints with the smoke or other issues with their furnaces. We've never had any complaints.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Butcher, does that answer your questions, or at least partly?
Yes, it makes me wonder if it's not having to inspect all of the existing ones, but would there be a way for us to ensure that the existing ones are CSA approved or are insured, or whatever the provincial or other entity would be that would ensure their safety? I have driven through a pile of smoke so bad so I completely understand that there may be some out there that are not functioning as they should, but I don't think that we need to penalize everyone. So is there a way to ensure that the ones that are existing are safe without causing all of this expense and having to recertify or whatever existing ones, or is that not able to happen easily?
Chief Bowser?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Butcher. I would say first we would have to seek from our information from our solicitor, but we would also have to look to the Department of Local Government as well. We, as the Sackville or Tantramar Fire Service, would not have jurisdiction over that to go out at the present time and research and certify those.
Councillor Hicks?
Thank you, Mayor Black. I met with DNR, and they tell me that many of the municipalities with their LSDs are staying with the government regulations, so you can burn from November till April. They are very happy with that because they want you to clean up debris around your yard so it doesn't get started in the summertime and start a fire. So I just wanted to be clear that we are allowed to burn some debris and brush through those months, are we, in this bylaw?
Not without a permit.
Not without a permit. Yeah, I don't agree with that. In the winter months, I don't think we need a permit. And I feel that we go with the government regulations for those months.
Councillor Estabrook?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Black. Probably a good idea to take it away and bring it back. Understanding the interest in having any new installations being CSA, meeting CSA standard. We actually state the small burning devices inside that they be CSA as well. One thing I will just say in general about bylaws is they're always under a microscope when they're up for review. Once they're in place, bylaw contraventions are complaint driven. So if you have a outdoor wood burning furnace that's not CSA approved, that could go on for years and years with no issue at all unless somebody were to file a complaint, at which point in time somebody would come back to the bylaw and say, yeah, it's CSA approved, not CSA approved. So the grandfathering is through to mechanical end of life is an option, but that's also very hard to control or harness or keep track of. The logistics of that is crazy. Anyway, I'm not sure, but I certainly don't think second and third reading tonight.
Okay. Chief Partridge, your light is on. Did you?
Yeah. With existing furnaces, they may never reach their end of life because you just keep patching them up, right? As far as new ones are coming in, someone could buy one, hook it up, and be using it, and who would know? Who would know?
Yeah.
And insurance companies, if you're putting one at your house, I'm sure your insurance companies, if you have insurance, will be heavily involved in that. So that it's a hard thing to regulate.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. It's a good point. Hard to regulate, and the point about the insurance being involved in a possible installation on a property is a good one. But also to Councillor Estabrook's point, bylaws are difficult sometimes to enforce, especially when they're complaint driven, and then what happens after that. But it's a good point. Councillor Gogan.
Thank you, Mayor Black. So I was actually going to say that I know when you change anything in your house, you inform your insurance and they're right on top of it, or they're on top of you to change your roof, your windows, whatever. So like, I mean, to me, as long as you've got insurance, your insurance company is dealing with that specifically. If we're only targeting the smoke or burning of nuisance, maybe we should remove the part of having it certified and all this stuff and adding the caveat of not burning whatever you want in it.
It's hard to do again. Like, how would you enforce that? It'd be difficult.
Well, I mean, right now we are, it is in there. It does state that, you know, you're not allowed to burn anything other than dry wood.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Counselor Tower.
Thank you. I really think, as Councillor Hicks has said, we go with the provincial standard for burning, with the caveat tied to the minister if required for our own protection. But I find it kind of ironic that the province is now saying this is our responsibility, but they took the responsibility of putting 10 jet engines into a forest away from us. So it's kind of silly and ridiculous that they're trying to put those extra pressures on us, but they don't care about what they do.
Counselor Finney?
Leave it as it is. I mean, we're just creating more problems for ourselves. And as far as the ceremonial thing, I think they are allowed to do what they want anyway. I don't think the Indigenous have to be, they've got a relationship with the provincial government, so I think they're allowed to do what they want.
It's not covered under the current bylaw.
That's our
why-
bylaw, though.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
but
well,
they-
that's municipal.
But conversations with Fort Folly have happened with the municipality, and that's why
Anyway.
the sacred fire is included in the bylaw, because they're not.
That's how
covered.
I feel anyway, so just leave it as it is and let's not bother.
So, yeah, I think maybe just clarify, Counselor Finney, do you want the bylaw to be left is in its current form? So in the current form that it is right now, that we would be reading second and third reading tonight? Oh, so go back to the original bylaw that doesn't incorporate all of the $4
Right,
fees.
exactly.
I see. All right. Yeah, there's. Yeah, Counselor Finney.
The insurance industry, what do they say about it? Has anybody reached out to them to ask them? I wonder, do they know about them?
What the insurance companies would say about municipal
Yeah,
policy?
having them on their properties and stuff.
Oh, the outdoor furnaces?
Well, I don't know, Mike, I'm just saying, then what's the insurance industry as a whole say about it? Anybody asked them?
Deputy Chief?
So, insurance companies, they go and you need a wet certification, paper, and they go and they check all the proper measurements and stuff for the furnaces. They do in your house, just like they would do into your, so the insurance controls a lot of the insurance, if they know about them. But if your insurance, if your insurance knows that you have a wood furnace in your home, they're gonna know about it. If that's your main source of heat, they should know about it.
Outdoor ones too. So.
All right, so we've gotten nowhere. This is wonderful. So we have had a decision, I think everyone can agree that we are not going to do second and third reading tonight. This needs to go back to staff, but there's an awful lot of back and forth and maybe not a solid decision on what we would like to see within this bylaw. I think one thing that has been mentioned is the provincial regulation on the winter burning. Is that kind of general head nods to kind of see that in? Right, to go with provincial, and the possibility of adding in, if the date changes with the minister, we would adjust accordingly. Okay, so that's like head nods. Everyone's okay with that piece? Okay. Now, about the outdoor furnaces, are we looking to grandfather in what's existing, and then any new ones would be certified and follow what we have in the bylaw for all? Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, Mayor Black. Is there any way that we can put in this bylaw that you cannot smoke your neighbors out? That we have a problem, and everybody here knows it. I think that's what they're trying to target.
yes.
But is there any way we can write something up on that?
Captain Boyce.
Deputy Chief or Captain Boyce? There is a mic out on the podium. Just hold on, just wait until you get the mic and the camera on you.
We good?
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's basically, I get what you're saying about the grandfather, and I get what the presentation was. It's just there are some units out there that are homemade, and that is something that has to be in the bylaw. If you want to grandfather in the existing units, to Councillor Estabrook's point, how do you determine end of life? Because people will just patch those things up. Maybe they're insured, maybe they're not insured. But I do think it's important in that bylaw that there is something, if it's amended, there cannot be homemade units out there for outdoor burning that are used to heat structures. It's not safe. And it is an environmental hazard as well. So you guys got to figure out how to get that in the bylaw there somehow. Yeah. So that was it.
Okay. So hearing that, do we have head nods on what we'd like to see come back around the grandfathering and possibly something around homemade ones? Yeah? Is that head nods? Okay. We did it, guys. Well done.
I just want to ask, like, we had a presentation this evening from a concerned citizen. Can we ask for their thoughts? Because I don't want to, okay, all right.
We still have,
Yeah.
we still have second and third reading coming, right? So the public, and in this case, Mr. McDonald, will see that bylaw brought forward again before and have an opportunity to give feedback, and anyone else. Yep. Okay. All right, that was 6.1. Okay, so now we're on to number 7. Mayor and council statement and inquiries. Keep it concise and tight. Deputy Mayor Wiggins Caldwell.
Thank you. I will be very quick. I just wanted to acknowledge that Councillors Finney, Martin and Tower, we attended the grand opening of the Collective Annex Collective on 131 Main Street, and what an awesome building. That Gabriel Gauguin did an awesome job, and if anybody has any time to go in and tour this building, it's well worth it. They did a work of a downtown core. They dedicated the hub to collaboration and entrepreneurship. They're opening up in there. They have a sewing room. They have an art room, and so it's well worth going in and having a look. That's one thing. I have one more. But this here, I don't know whether we have time. We don't have time tonight to do this. But I'm concerned about the Southeast infrastructure cost sharing, and that's coming due on the end of this month. So I would like council or you, Mr. Mayor Black, to discuss what has been entailed in this over the year or so that you worked on this at the Southeast Service Commission.
You guys tell me what you want me to say at the board meeting.
Okay, good.
I don't know how many of you attended the webinar,
Yes.
but it's a good point that you bring that up, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people attended the webinar on regional regional infrastructure cost sharing. To boil it down, from day one, 3.5 years ago, every single board member didn't want it. We didn't even want to discuss it. We felt that it was entirely problematic. But as I said at the Committee of the Whole meeting, the Southeast Regional Service Commission has developed a policy that is as good as we can get. There are outs for communities. So for example, let's say we're going to build a multi-purpose building here in Tantramar. We have the opportunity, if we want to submit it to the Regional Service Commission as a regional cost-sharing project. But we don't have to. We could shoulder the burden of that infrastructure on our own. If we put it as a regional, then the communities that would potentially use that building would then have to prove that they don't need it. So there's a process for that. This is what infrastructure cost sharing is all about. The provincial government instituted this as a mandate through the Regional Service Commission because of problems in other regions of the province, St. John. And so rather than have to do the work themselves as the province, more specifically the Department of Local Government, they've put it on the backs of municipalities, just like all the other things that have happened from amalgamation. So honestly, the policy is as good as we can get. We are kind of controlling our own narrative. If we don't do it, the provincial government will step in and put in place whatever they want, and we will have to abide by that. So we have rules and some structures within that policy that give municipalities outs, which is good. That being said, I'm the board member representing Tantramar. I am not going to make this decision. I'm not going to go in there and just decide whatever I think I want to decide, which is why I need direction from you to tell me what you want me to say, and I will say that. There are other municipalities who are strongly opposed to myself and Andrew LeBlanc from Riverview. We're two of the most vocal people against regional cost sharing from day one. And so I don't mind saying no. I don't mind disagreeing with it. And then it'll go back to the drawing board again and again and again and again. So I'm just looking for direction for you to tell me what you want me to say at the board meeting.
Yeah, tonight we don't have time to.
Deputy Mayor Roscoe.
Thank you, Mayor Black. We don't have time to get into this because I know I went into the session listening to it and thinking, I want to opt out. This is great. But then as I got listening to the 85, 95% cost sharing for I thought, well, it's better to go with that than the 50-50 that the provincial government may put on us. So this we have to discuss what we want to bring forward. So. Right. That's all.
Yeah, now this is coming up at the board meeting in April.
Yes.
So this is when the decision will have to be made. It's at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So, you guys can send me an email too if you wish, if that's easier. Like, just let me know what you want me to say. And if we do this through email communication, which is probably not the best way to do it, but we can always add this on to a special meeting if we need to. Sorry, so were you finished,
yes,
Deputy Mayor?
I'm wondering if we could get together, like the council as ourselves, to discuss this, to have a feedback from all councilors.
Well, we have a special meeting. Well, we're going to have a special meeting for the fire prevention bylaw. We can put it in there.
So we can do it. Perfect.
We can put it in there.
Thank you.
Yep. Councilor Estabrook?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Black. Just a couple of statements. Seeing as this will be my last regular council meeting. Last Thursday, SMHC, our local hockey club, hosted their annual awards banquet, which I always love to take in. There's so many smiling kids and faces. It's a good news thing. President Brandon LeBlanc and his crew did a fantastic job again this year, giving out some awards to deserving players and volunteers. Two I'd like to just mention very quickly. One that's near and dear to me is the Jordan Cormier Memorial Award. This year was presented to female U15 player Bentley Urquhart, and very well deserved. Great kid. And then also another one I'd like to mention is the Hockey New Brunswick Award for Volunteer of the Year in the club. This year was presented to Ryan Doncaster, and that was very well deserved. Closing. I have been honored to serve on the last council of Sackville and on the first council of Tantramar. It has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Well said. Councilor Hicks.
Thank you, Mayor Black. This will just be quick. I think I've inquired 5 times over the last year about the decorative lights at Tim Hortons and McDonald's. I'm wondering if there's any timeline on them. When are those going to be fixed?
Mr. Taylor?
Thank you. had some trouble chasing the people down. I think I've finally gotten the right people. Irving now has me dealing with a manager at Couche-Tard out of Moncton. I'm waiting to hear back from them on it. And the owners, Tim Hortons here, Corey Craig, they sent my stuff along to RBI Corporate because they're the landlord, only TDL. They used to be TDL, and I've poked them both this week already. So, thank you, I'm trying.
Councillor Tower.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to give a shout out to Penny Mott, who did her presentation tonight. She has continually come back with her battle for this good cause. And also to Gregor McCaskill, who is really a godsend to this area too. He's loaded with information, and you can do fact check on that boy and you're gonna fail. And also one out for the Seniors for Climate in Tantamar, who are holding the Earth Day Tea Party here in Tantamar at the Cafe Tantamar on the 22nd. And they're BT, and they're also going to give away an award for the Environmental Citizen of the Year. So they're doing all these great things to keep our attention on the problems that are happening in this world.
Thank you. Okay. Number 8, notice of motion and resolution. We have none, which brings us to number 9. Adjournment. Moved by Councillor Tower, seconded by Councillor Finney. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.